Even though we went from the rectangular tables last time, to the round tables this time, how many of you are sitting in the same area that you sat in last time? Kind of in the same, yeah. We're creatures of habit. We're going to talk about habit. I've been doing this for a long time, and people have meetings, and they'll come back and they'll sit in one place, and if the room's set up the next time the same way, they'll come back and sit in the same place again, and they'll go, you can't sit there, that's his chair. Anyway, we'll talk about habits and how they affect us in leading and managing. Any questions or observations from last time? Gosh, I left, and some of those things you covered, Petesy, I begin to see in my situation, from leadership to management to listening to knowledge and beliefs to actions and activities to what? Anything? Any observations? Y'all have been studying this, haven't you? No. Somebody did ask me from this table back here if there would be some tests in this, and there will be. It'll come after the last session, and it'll be unlike any test. And he asked me, was it with an S? And I said, yes. It will be unlike any test you've ever had before, and it'll be fun. At least I think it'll be fun. But anybody with any comments or questions? How many of you were not here last time? Okay, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oh, by the way, you do have a notebook. You should have gotten one when you came in. Also, if you did not get dividers last time, they're in the back. UPS got them there that afternoon for me. So they're there for you, and Benita will. If you don't have dividers, raise your hand, and Benita will hand you one. Anybody not have dividers? One? Okay. And I have one more book to add to your reading list if you like. A friend of mine loaned it to me, and I read about the first 2 chapters. As I went out and bought it, he said, you didn't read that overnight? I went, no, you didn't want me marking in your book. Anyway, it's called The One Thing. It's by Gary Keller, the guy that started Keller Williams. And I thought it was very good. It focuses on success. I thought it was an easy read, and I got a lot out of it. It had a lot of good sayings in it as well. Okay, so you got everything from last time, right? Okay, good. Any questions or comments on your feedback? We went over some of them, and they'll be used and studied and reviewed, I'm sure, or at least I hope. Again, the goal of this program is to create maybe a clearer, better, or more focused picture for you of what your role and responsibilities are as leaders and managers. We'll talk about focus to some degree, but let me just ask you, how important is? I mean, you're in the golf industry. Come on, you know how important focus is. But how important is it to you? Anybody? No? Well, let me ask you this. At the circus, the lion and tiger tamer, the man or the lady that goes into the cage with the lions and the tigers, you with me? They take 3 things with them. What are they? A chair, a whip, and a pistol. And which one of those 3 things are the most important? Oh, they got a 6-shooter, and they got 12 big caps over there, and they're going to stop. The caps are going to go, don't rush him, he's got a gun. No, it's not the pistol. What do you think? The whip, they're going, oh, he's got a whip. We're really afraid now, and he's got that little pistol too. No, let me hold that chair behind you for just a minute, sir. Let me, if I can slide that. It's the chair. Why is the chair so important? Why is the chair so important? I mean, or the stool or whatever it is, because the lion tamer, if they start to rush him, he'll go like that. And what does the cat do? Stops. Do you know why? It's a lesson in focus, ladies and gentlemen. The cat stops because it sees 4 legs, does not know which one to attack, and stops. The more you know about what you're doing, the more focused on what you're doing, the more productive you'll be. This is a continuation of what leaders and managers should or need to do if you're going to be effective. Your role and responsibility includes, but certainly not limited to the following. First one there says, understand and strive to see the purpose and mission is fulfilled. And that mission statement, the new one that's done for the company, will be introduced in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't have a date on that yet. Neither do you know yet when? Bob said last time? 19th. On the 19th, okay. But how do you go about doing that? How do you go about making sure that the mission statement is used and adhered to? 2 things. constantly use it, and constantly communicate it. This is what we're about. This is what we're about. Yeah, that you sat in last time. Kind of innocent. Yeah, we're creatures of habit. We're going to talk about habit. I've been doing this for a long time, and people have meetings, and they'll come back and they'll sit in one place, and if the room's set up the next time the same way, they'll come back and sit in the same place again, and they'll go, you can't sit there, that's his chair. Anyway, we'll talk about habits and how they affect us in leading and managing. Any questions or observations from last time? Gosh, I left, and some of those things you covered, Petesy, I begin to see in my situation, from leadership to management to listening to knowledge and beliefs to actions and activities to what? Anything? Any observations? Y'all have been studying this, haven't you? No. Somebody did ask me from this table back here if there would be some tests in this, and there will be. It'll come after the last session, and it'll be unlike any test. And he asked me, was it with an S? And I said, yes. It will be unlike any test you've ever had before, and it'll be fun. At least I think it'll be fun. But anybody with any comments or questions? How many of you were not here last time? Okay, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oh, by the way, you do have a notebook. You should have gotten one when you came in. Also, if you did not get dividers last time, they're in the back. UPS got them there that afternoon for me. So they're there for you. And Benita will, if you don't have dividers, raise your hand and Benita will hand you one. Anybody not have dividers? One? Okay. And I have one more book to add to your reading list if you like. A friend of mine loaned it to me, and I read about the first 2 chapters, and I went out and bought it. He said, you didn't read that overnight? I went, no, you didn't want me marking in your book. Anyway, it's called The One Thing. It's by Gary Keller, the guy that started Keller Williams. And I thought it was very good. It focuses on success. I thought it was an easy read, and I got a lot out of it. It had a lot of good sayings in it as well. Okay, so you got everything from last time, right? Okay, good. Any questions or comments on your feedback? We went over some of them, and they'll be used and studied and reviewed, I'm sure, or at least I hope. Again, the goal of this program is to create maybe a clearer, better, or more focused picture for you of what your role and responsibilities are as leaders and managers. Is. Second says, make sure you set and accomplish goals. We'll do that one maybe the next time or the 4th time that we're together. Work in the present, but daily, weekly, monthly, monitor the operations. Some people get so caught up in what's going to go on next week or next month or whenever that they forget to do what they need to do today. And your response, if you monitor things, you'll pick up where you're on track or where you're off track, or that is your people are, and also what gaps you might have. Gaps are simply this. Gaps is the difference between where you are and where you want to be. That's a gap. And we'll do some things that will enable you to close that gap as well. And then oversee the implementation of those. Number 5, on number 4, we'll do that when we do goals. Make the necessary adjustments when needed. I'm missing Bob today, but I'm a little bit glad that he's not here, because I'm a South Carolina fan, and I didn't want to see him today. University of South Carolina, it appeared to me, and many others who watched the game and or went to it, we failed to do what? Make adjustments. We kept doing the same junk over and over and over and over and over, and I'm going, adjust. Number 6, serve others. I don't know if you realize it or not, but if you have a leadership, a management, a supervisory role, you are a servant to your people. You're a servant to them. Likewise, they're a servant to you. Do a lot of stuff on customer service, and we may touch on that by the time we get through with this program. The key to service is being a servant. If you'll serve them well, they'll serve you well. Okay? It's not about you being here and them being down there. It's about serving each other. Number 7, encourage, guide, support, and assist the development. Who did Geno Smith sign with? I just heard on Sports Talk when I was coming in. He's starting tonight. The Jets. Okay, so they got him. They paid him a lot, and they said, man, you're real good at quarterback. We like you. That's why we gave you $10 million, whatever his signing bonus was, and that's why we're going to pay you X millions of dollars a year. And you just show up and play when you're ready, okay? They didn't do that, did they? No, they continued to develop him. One of your responsibilities is to help develop your people or encourage them to develop. That's a healthy thing in business because it requires growth. The one thing in any business that appreciates more than anything else are the people in the business. This building right here, this building is, for tax purposes, is on a depreciation schedule. Each day it loses value on the books. The only thing at Pine Lakes that can increase in value, really, are the people. We talked last time about the 3 Ps: product, price, and people skills, and that's where we can excel. Value and develop relationships with the people on the team. And here's one of the keys. If you haven't realized this, if you don't know it, if you haven't heard it, once you become supervisor, manager, leader, have some position where you have people reporting to you, where you're responsible for them, you can't be one of them anymore. You can't be one of the guys or one of the gals anymore. You just can't. You have to separate yourself. Doesn't mean you're better than them, but you can't get as close to them. But you need to know what's going on in their lives. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to know what happens at their house Friday night after 12 o'clock when they get home. You don't need to know that part. But you do need to know kind of if mother, brother, sister, new baby coming, somebody's having some illness and those types of things. Questions on that? Know your people. I had a client about 10 years ago call me. He said, Petesy, I finally figured out what the main problem is in my company. And you've been telling me, and I didn't realize it until the other day. I said, David, what's that? He said, I do not know my people. I don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't need to know all the details, but you need to know some things. Number 9. How many of you have children or grandchildren that are early teens or less? This will help you with them, because leading and managing and supervising people is the same as leading and managing and supervising children. It's the same thing. But number 9 says, have realistic and appropriate expectations. And if we're not careful, and I was certainly guilty of it as a parent, I wanted my 10-year-old to act like a 20-year-old. They were 10. Somebody new comes on board, and the knowledge and skills and experience that they brought with them is good, but it's not quite up to doing what you need them to fulfill. You have to help them with that. Help people. Have realistic expectations. That's not making an excuse for anyone, but if they are not doing what you want them to do, then they need some help. I had a client of mine call me a couple of years ago, and he said, and I'd been doing some work with him for a long time and knew his company well, and he said, Petesy, I'm thinking about firing Joseph. I said, really? Why are you? I'm on the phone right down the road. I said, why are you going to fire Joseph? He said, well, I got this new computer program in, and I expected Joseph to kind of take it and run with it. I said, is there anything in Joseph's background when you hired him or did anything with him that would indicate to you that he even likes computer programs? He said, no, not really. I said, let me ask you this. Why did you hire Joseph? He said, I hired Joseph to be a salesman. I said, how's he doing? He said, he's my number 1 salesperson. I said, so let me understand this. You're going to fire your number 1 salesperson because you expected them to take a computer program that may not even interest them at all. He said, you know what? I better hire somebody else for the computer program, right? I said, sounds reasonable to me. Okay. So have realistic and appropriate expectations of other people. It will keep you on track, and it will help you. Know what their skill level is and know what the next step is in developing those people. That's how you do it, isn't it? How many of you, I've asked this question before, I just don't remember. How many of you have taught golf somewhere along the way? Where do you start with people? Somebody comes out there and they got a 24 handicap and they don't even know how to take it back. They make Jim Furyk look smooth when he takes it back. Anyway, and they take it back. You don't try to take them and get them to do what a scratch golfer does, do you? You have to start where they are, and you have to develop them. That's one of the parts of your role and responsibility. Questions or comments? Number 10, continuously communicate verbally the goals, plans, and expectations. Don't let them guess. Let me tell you, and we'll do a session on communication as well. When you become effective in your communicating ability with your people, they should When they see you coming, they should know what you're going to say. When they see you coming, they should know what you're going to say. Now, not because not the message if it's a new one or that kind of stuff, but they ought to know what your standards and values are. Your children should too. Our son's now 32, but when he was about 13, he would say, "Daddy, can I do the da-da-da-da?" Because he's a tall kid. "Can I do this with the older guys?" No. A couple of years passed, and he asked me fewer questions. And by the time he got 16 or 17, he said, "Daddy, can I?" "Oh, I know what you're going to say." Because I said the same thing every time. Okay? The same standard every time. Number 11, I think, for some people is tough. Be considerate, courteous, tactful, and bold. Not 2 out of 3. Some people don't get bold till they get mad, and then they lose some of their impact. Sometimes it is appropriate to get mad to get people's attention, because sometimes that's the only reason that they'll listen to you. But just be considerate. I wonder what it's like to be a professional coach in any professional sport. How do you call a guy over and chew him out that's making 5 times the money you're making? But they do it. Some of them do it ranting and raving, and some of them do it that way. 12 we talked a little bit about last week, but model the attitude, quality of work ethic, punctuality, behavior desired for the team. You have to reflect what they're doing if you want them to do it. And we talked a lot about, and you talked about accountable. Number 13 says this. Number 1, first and foremost, is for you to be accountable to your team. You be accountable to them first. I did it. I didn't do it. I apologize. I accomplished it in a shorter period of time. You be accountable to them. And then you move to the next one. Expect them to be accountable to you. You're not effective holding someone accountable when you're not accountable to them. Because they look at you and go, what? It's kind of like kids. If you smoke, don't tell your kids not to smoke because they're going to smoke because they saw you doing it. Okay, as they grow up and as ours have grown up, I see us reflected in them. But the accountability begins with you. And you can tell them, I said I was going to do this. I thought we could do that. I didn't get it done. Or I did get it done. And I expect you to be as accountable to me and to the other team members and we'll talk about that with team next time. Number 15, value, monitor, and measure results. How do you do that? You just know what you want to accomplish, and somewhere in your mind, or you have it written down somewhere, that there's some results. A friend of mine said this a number of years ago. He said, "We applaud effort, but we reward results." You tried real hard. Yay! But you didn't get across the goal line. But you tried real hard. Okay, we applaud effort, but we reward results. Delegate. How many of you think you're good delegators or effective delegators? Not good, but effective. How many of you think you're effective delegators? And we'll talk. How many of you think, I'm not sure, I'd like to have some more information in delegation? Yeah. How many of you's arms are broke? No. Anyway, delegation is tough, and we'll spend a segment of time on delegation. But you have to make sure that they have the same picture that you do. We'll talk more about that. What you want to avoid, and some people think that abdication is delegation. I told you to do it, now go do it, and if you mess up, you're gone, and don't ever talk to me again. Okay? You just go do it. I just gave it, I got hands off. That's abdication, and I run into that a lot. And then give your best and expect the best from others. If the people see you giving your best, then they will expect, then you can expect the best from them. Okay, we did a little bit on personalities last time. Some of you were not here, so we're going to maybe lose you a little bit. Hope not very far. Anita, let's get these out if we can. How many of you took the little, I won't say a test, but took the little program and scored the highest in the top group? In other words, you were doves. No, you don't remember? How many of you have family members or friends or relatives somewhere along the way that just bug you? That you just go, I don't know what is wrong with those, what is wrong with him or her? Every time we get together, or neighbors, or what, we all have that, don't we? We all have that. And a lot of that can be directed towards personalities, or personality styles or types. We said last time you're in the people business, and so understanding people is key. Leading and managing people, part of that, a big part of that, is understanding people. So let me just get some feedback from the first question. I won't ask you to write it down, but let's talk about it for a minute. Any way you wish to define the people or categorize the people, who would you say are the smartest group of people in the world? And you can define them or categorize them any way you wish. The smartest group of people in the world are what? Finish it. People who, people that, what? Not here. That's the first. That's the first. Smartest group of people in the world. Scientists, okay. Superintendents, there you go. Salespeople.
Those who are always looking to learn.
Those who are always looking and continuing to learn, true. Well, people in Mensa, people that think, people that read, people that continue to grow, rocket scientists, high IQ people, whatever. I want to give you the answer, and here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the smartest group of people in the world are those who agree with you, who think like you, who act like you, and who do things the way you do them. Those other people are crazy. Now, as funny and as simple as that is that not how we live our lives? I mean, we're not that far away from the Christmas season. But flash back to last year at Christmas time. Did you go down any street, to anyone's house, to some apartment or whatever, and ride by and look or get invited over there to someone that had an ugly Christmas tree? Or the wrong kind? Huh? How about Thanksgiving dinner? Are there some people you know who don't serve the right stuff for Thanksgiving dinner? I mean, they just, what is wrong? What is wrong with those people? And if we're not careful, we try to get everyone else to think and act and be like us. If you have children or grandchildren, and one of them is a problem child, because as a parent I was guilty of this. I didn't know it with my children. I know it with my grandchildren. So I knew when they were born which ones they are, and we get along a whole lot better. But we try to make our children act and behave like us, true? Yeah. And if they do, then they go, yeah, I understand. And if they don't, we go, well, you got to. And no. Smartest group of people in the world are those people that agree with us. The ones that you have problem with, that you lead, manage, and or supervise, are maybe those that see the world a little bit different than you see it. Because you see, we don't see the world the way the world is. We see the world the way we are. We see it through our filter, and we see it primarily through our personality filter. True? For those of you who scored the highest in the first two, the doves and the owls, and we'll talk more about it, don't worry about writing it down, but the doves and, how many of you were that last time? There was a whole bunch of you over here. How many of you were that last time? Okay. For those of you who were doves and owls first, and particularly if you were dove first and owl second, or owl first and dove second, you do not have a fast gear. I say to a dove owl or an owl dove, hurry up. They'll go, I am. They don't. Likewise, if you're a oh, John, I wish Jim was here. Anyway, likewise, if you're an eagle peacock or a peacock eagle, 1 and 2, you don't have a slow gear. I mean, excuse me, you don't have a slow gear. You got nothing but fast. I got a son and a son-in-law. One's peacock eagle and one's eagle peacock. When I play golf with them, I do not let them drive the golf cart. They don't. They jerk it around. My back's hurting, my shoulders are hurting, and they know what to do. But they just go fast. Everything's fast, fast, fast. Now, if you're the other, you've got a fast gear and a slow gear as we go through this. So it says there, what? Birds of a what? Birds of a feather flock together, right? Smartest people in the world are those people that agree with us. There was a guy who became widowed, and he lived by himself. His kids lived away, and he was in his home all day, and he was lonely, and he never had a pet. And he decided, you know what, maybe it'd be a little more fun if I had a pet. And so he goes to the pet shop, and he's talking to the pet shop owner, and he says, you know, I'm widowed now, and it's lonely and quiet in my house. And the guy said, well, how about a cat? He said, well, I really don't like cats, and they're kind of quiet. And he said, well, how about a dog? He said, no, dogs, you got to feed them too much, and they're all over the place, and sometimes they might bark. And guy said, how about a fish? He said, I don't think a fish is much of a pet, a companion. Shop owner says, I got it. How about a bird? Guy said, okay. So he buys this bird. He takes it home. The bird's just in there tweeting, and the guy's happier. But the guy gets to studying the bird and realizes that the bird only has one leg. He calls the pet shop owner. He said, hey, man, I was in the other day, and you sold me a bird, and he only has one leg. He said, did you want a singer or a dancer? Anyway, we got to go out and find and know what we're looking for. Birds of a feather flock together. What's the basis? What is the basis for any relationship? I just give it to you. It's trust. Basis for any relationship is trust. And the basis for trust is this. We trust people that we like, and we trust people that we think are competent. If you have someone that you don't like, you really don't trust them. And if you have someone that you don't think knows what they're doing, you don't trust them either. So the key is, I won't ask you for a show of hands, I just know that it's there. For those of you who have a number of people working in and around you supervise or lead or manage, okay, you got some of them you don't trust. And a couple of reasons for that, one of the reasons for that is you don't like them. Or you don't really think they know what they're doing because they don't do it like you do it. Okay? That's just there. And hopefully today the realization for that will come to you as well. So we trust people that we like, and we trust people that we think are competent. It's both. They know what they're doing, and we like them. Talk about the personality rule, but I'll talk about the golden rule first. It comes out of Scripture. What is it? Yeah, treat others as you want to be treated, do unto others as you have them do unto you, depending on what translation that you read, right? Has any of you ever done that with someone that's close, near, or dear to you, and it really not worked? Why'd you get upset? I treated you the way that I want to be treated. Anybody? Yeah, I heard a back in there somewhere. Okay.
Platinum rule works a whole lot better.
Do what?
Platinum rule works a whole lot better.
Tell me the platinum rule.
Treat others the way they want to be treated.
That's it. I call it the personality rule, and it's this. Do unto others the way that they would like to be done unto. Do unto others the way that they would like to be done unto. Treat me the way that I want to be treated, and guess what? I'll probably like you, and I'll probably think you're pretty smart. Hippocrates identified the 4 personality types 4 centuries before Christ, and each one of us have all 4. If you want to go deep, there's Myers-Briggs, and Please Understand Me, and you can go to the 4-letter designator, and you can do all that. The DISC program goes a little deeper than what I go, in that they take the 4 quadrants, and then you chart yourself in one of those quadrants. I don't do that either, but there are a number of companies around that do the same thing. There's 2 that go by, and I'll just give them to you in case you got exposed to them. 2 that call them by red, yellow, green, and blue. One calls them by red, blue, yellow, and white. One that calls them by flowers. One that calls them by dogs. One that calls them by fish. One that just calls them by a bunch of names. They've been around for a long time. But Toyota of America teaches this. Just about every organization now has some person coming around. I do it in sales, I do it in leadership, I do it in management, I do it in communication, I do it in team building. Why? Because we're in the people business. We are in the people business. There are 2 questions that most people have. One is, am I okay? Because I don't care what you tell everybody else around you. There's some areas of your life you're not sure in. When you ride down the road by yourself, you go, I'm not sure about that part. Now, you never tell anybody else. And the other is are you okay? If you like something different than I do, either something wrong with me or something wrong with you. No, not true. Not true. We're okay. Any of you remember the weather guy Willard Scott, the guy that played? Didn't he pass away a year or so ago sometime? Anyway, I heard Willard Scott talk probably about 15 years ago, and he said this. He would always do the old people thing, happy birthday to somebody that's 100 or 101 or whatever. And he said he went to a nursing home one morning And he walked in, and all these people, some of them standing, many of them in wheelchairs. And he said he walked in, and he was visiting with them and saying good morning and wishing them well. And he said he saw one lady sitting in a wheelchair over in the corner. He said, so I kept working through the room, and he said every time I glanced at her, she was just following me. And he said I walked over to her, and he said, good morning, ma'am. He said, do you know who I am? She said, no, but the lady at the desk might be able to help you. Okay, so you're going to find out today a little bit more about you. What you're going to find out is this. You are more measurable and predictable than what you realize. I can shake your hand and tell you how your closet looks at home. I can tell you what you use for decision-making criteria, what you do with your hands, what colors you like best, and I'm going to share that with you today. It's not a secret. It's been around for a long time. It will give you, for those of you who are married, you probably married someone exactly opposite from you. It's going to give you some insights into them. For those of you who have children, you will gain some insights into them as well. And in addition to that, you're going to gain this room. Because some of you in this room, I want to ask for a show of hands, some of you in this room think that some of the others are crazy. And I don't mean that literally. You go, well, why does he do that? I don't understand why she does that. Okay? But likewise, some of you might have some extremely productive, good team members that you're going, I don't know about him. And it may be just because they're different in personality styles. And again, that's because we're in the people business. So I call them, as you know, last time as it goes down, DOPE, doves, owls, peacocks, and eagles. Doves, owls, peacocks, and eagles. And if you've taken something else, I probably got a list up here that will give you whatever else you've had. Any of you done the DISC program? The doves are the steadiness. The owls are the compliant, the peacocks are the influencers, and the eagles are the dominant. If you like this, as it relates to being married, I just bought a book and started reading. It's been out for a long time. The title of the book is Love. L-O-V-E. Calls them the leader, the optimist, or whatever. I'm about halfway through it, but it's by Les and Leslie Parrott, good psychologist. And it's good, and it gave me some insights that I did not gain from other places. But as we look at this, there's some things that impact and overlay this. So I didn't add this till a couple years ago, and then I realized somebody came up to me when I went back to their company a year or two later, and they'd say, Pete, so you told me about doves, owls, peacocks, and eagles, but I know one dove that's like this and one dove that's like that, or one owl that's like this and what's the difference? And here are 5 things that overlay. These are the major things that overlay and impact them. One is life's experiences. Life's experiences. I was in Vietnam, and a good friend of mine who's a client of mine from Virginia, he was there, and we were there about the same time. We share a link because we were there. The guys from Iraq and Iran, they share a link with other people that were there. If you weren't there, you just kind of can't relate to that experience. So life's experiences impacted. Self-esteem impacts it. Someone with a good, healthy self-esteem will act and react differently than someone with a poor or unhealthy self-esteem. Education impacts it. And when I say education, ladies and gentlemen, I am not talking about or being limited to college education. Because I got some friends that I know who have a 4-year college degree but do not have a 4-year college education. And I have friends that I know that do have a 4-year degree, and I have other friends that I know that have never been to college that are very, very well educated. They're self-educated through what they read, through the things that they read and things that they study and those types of things. The 4th thing is generations. And we'll spend a little time on generations. We were born on the same planet, but in different worlds. And if you don't believe that, all you need to do is look at some of the younger generation. 3 of our grandchildren are at our house for 3 weeks. They go home Sunday. They're 9, 7, and 6, and they all got little iPods. That means they got everything but the phone connection, and they can do stuff on it. We got one that's 1 year old, and she knows if you hand her a toy cell phone, she puts it up to her here, and she can't talk yet. She goes, yeah. I mean, they know what it is, okay? And for those of us that didn't grow up with that, some of us are still having a hard time with some of that stuff, true? But we'll talk about generations impacted, how they see the world, how they go through. There is a generational gap, and I'll give you some insights. We'll use 5 builders, boomers, busters, echo boomers, and millennials, and you'll find out where you are. And you may not understand someone with whom you work just because of that, just because that's how they go. That's how they go about life. And the last thing is family and friends. Family and friends. As we talk about these characteristics today and go over them and identify them and those kinds of things, what you might find in yourself is you might say, gosh, I'm a dove, owl, peacock, or eagle, and in that quadrant, I've got, all of that applies to me, but the one that's exactly opposite, or this one over here, I happen to have one of those characteristics as well. What usually happens is, how that happened is this. When you were young, you saw a family member or a friend, and they had a characteristic or a quality that you admired. And you said, I want to have that. And you learned it. And that's good. The other side of that is this. You say, gosh, I've got all of these that Petesy talked about in this quadrant, but I don't have that one. Likewise, you probably saw a family member or a friend that you said, I don't like that in him or her. And you squelched it. Okay, so that's what I mean by family and friends. What it says in questions so far? Okay. It says at the top of the page, it says, this defines behavior, but it does not excuse it. This defines behavior, but it does not excuse it. So you can't leave here today and get back tomorrow and say to somebody else, well, that was pretty good yesterday. I'm just a whatever, live with it. No. It defines behavior from the standpoint of you were born with it. The one that you're primary in, you were born with. You don't have to think about it. You didn't have to learn it. I held my 6 grandchildren when they were less than 2 months old, and I knew exactly what they were. I knew exactly what they were, how they acted and reacted, and it's great watching them and trying not to make them like me. And the second one is each person has all 4. So you have some of all 4. That's the 4-letter designator. But the one that we're primary in is our action and reaction most of the time. How many of you had, when you did that little evaluation, had scores that were really close together? 31-31, 29-29, whatever? Yeah. What that tells me is this. You have been effective in life, whether you knew this or not. You said, I got that, I need to learn this part. So the older people are, if they've been effective in life, particularly in business life, they have become more well-rounded. They've learned those other things. So the other things are your learning curves. If you look at this, the strength of a dove is the weakness of an eagle, and the strength of an eagle is would be the weaknesses of a dove. Okay, it's what comes natural to us. Anybody have any taken any? How many of you have taken any kind of personality anything before? Other than what did you take?
Self-profile.
A self-profile. Okay, and was it 4 or was it all 4 together? Or did it break it up or? Okay, broke it up. Okay. Introvert. Yeah. If you like this stuff and you're just curious, you don't have to go take the Myers-Briggs because anyway. You can go buy a book, the title of which is "Please Understand Me," and it's written by 2 authors. The last names are Kersey, Keirsy or something. Anyway, and Bates, and it's the same as Myers-Briggs. It's in all the bookstores. Been around for years. So I think they've got one called now "Please Understand Me 2," the Roman numeral 2. But you take this you answer this, or you respond to or circle these little 70 statement things, and you turn to that 4-letter designator in there, and you read it, and you think those people have been following you around all your life. You go, wait a minute, we're more measurable and predictable than what we think we are. Any of you involved in marketing now with National Golf Management, or ever have been involved in any kind of marketing? Any marketing stuff? What's the difference between national ads on TV and local and or regional ads? I mean, the budget's obviously different, and the quality's obviously different. But what about the message? The what? they try to personalize story. Let me tell you the major difference. The major difference is this. National ads appeal to all 4 personality types, and local and regional ads usually only appeal to 2. National ads, the doves, they got warm fuzzy stuff. The owls, they got factual stuff. The peacocks, they got some pizzazz. And the eagle, they got some bottom line results. And most of the local ones only appeal to whoever A, created the ad, or B, whoever requested the ad be done. I mean, you rarely, if ever, have you heard Ford come out and say, "Come buy a Ford, be a part of our family." But as I travel, I watch commercials when I'm in the hotel rooms, and particularly in the South. How many times have we heard, "Buy a car from us and be a part of the XYZ family"? We heard it, right? Owls don't want to be a part of their own family, much less to be part of yours. Okay, and the peacocks will come be part of your family and never buy a car from you. But anyway, okay. By the way, for those of you who were not here last time, we'll take a break. Unless we need one right now, we'll take a break in about the next 30 minutes or so. Okay. Doves, owls, peacocks, and eagles. I gave you a couple things at the top, and our world is divided into what we're dominant in, about 25% each. 25% each of doves, owls, peacocks, and eagles. If you do Myers-Briggs, or Please Understand Me, and you got 16 combinations, and then if you go high and low, you got 32 combinations, it is not 1/16th and it is not 1/32nd. And Please Understand Me, they'll give you a graph and tell you what it is. But in what we're dominant or primary in is 25% each. Okay. For doves and owls, they are slow-paced. It does not mean they're slow. It just means they like everything to go at a slow, steady pace. And peacocks and eagles, as I said before, are fast-paced. And who needs some adjusting? These people down here are trying to speed these people up. And these people up here are trying to slow these people down. Song that these people up here like is that old, I don't even know who it's by, but it was back a long time ago. Slow down, you're going too fast, trying to make just feeling groovy. Okay? These people down here they don't like that song. They don't like it. These people up here are telling these people down here, life is not a destination, it's a journey. Stop and enjoy the trip, smell the roses. And these people are going, yes, it is, and I can get there before you can. I can pick more roses than you can too. Okay? And it's just no right or wrong, no good, better, or best. If you had a company that didn't have some of each, you would be dysfunctional, because each one of them brings a strength to the table, and each one of them brings a weakness to the table. The doves and the owls are indirect, while the peacocks and the eagles are direct. Now, the little evaluation you took, did you get today's? No, you didn't. Benita, did she give you? You got it. Okay. Did you get the one that we're doing now? Okay, you're good. She got off the table, Benita, I think. As we go through this, you'll see whether or not your evaluation was correct for you. And you say, gosh, that's me most of the time. Indirect people have to lay a lot of groundwork before they get to the question. And direct people just get to the question. Let me give you an example. Let's say an indirect person calls a direct person to invite him to lunch. Okay? Indirect person calls a direct person to invite him to lunch. And it sounds like this. Hi, how you doing? The direct person's on the other end of the phone going, why'd you call? Well, I'm doing pretty good. Well, the season was over and we hadn't had a hurricane yet. Yeah, why'd you call? They said this was the latest that we hadn't had a hurricane in a long time. Why did you call? Well, I was just kind of wondering. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and I was just kind of wondering. Why did you call? Do you get away for lunch sometime? I mean, kind of, do you go early or do you get? Why'd you call? Well, I was just kind of wondering. Are you on a diet or anything? Well, I mean, have you ever eaten like at Carolina Roadhouse? Yeah. Why'd you call? Why? And they finally get. I won't bore you that are fast-paced with any more of that. But anyway, they finally get around to saying, let's meet Friday at Carolina Roadhouse at 12 o'clock. Okay? And these people go, whew, you finally got to it. Let me tell you how it sounds when these people call these people for the same lunch. Friday, 12 o'clock, Carolina Roadhouse, be there. Click. These people are going, we didn't even talk. Something must be wrong. I don't know. Was it an emergency? I don't know. Okay, I just... What, Kathy?
I just wish they would remember you.
No right or wrong, no good, better, or best. So if you're going to be effective with people, when you find out where you are and you have some other people working with you that are the other kind, guess who's going to have to make the adjustment? You. And it makes life a whole lot more fun. At least I think it makes it a whole lot more fun. These people up here are process people. And these people are results. In other words, the doves and the owls want to know how you make the watch. And the peacocks and the eagles just want to know what time it is. I mean, doves and owls go to a new restaurant that sells seafood, and they'll sit there and they'll look at the menu and go to the wait person, the shrimp on your menu. Are they from North Carolina coast, the South Carolina coast, the Georgia coast, the Florida coast? Did they come from the Orient? Were they flash frozen before they came in? How long have they been on the shelf? How long have they been in the bag? These people go, bring me the shrimp now. If I don't like them, I'm sending them back. Okay? Again, no, my hope is this. Might be what's happening for you. My hope is that you are thinking of some people in these two categories. And if that's true, then we're on the right track. Gosh, I got a brother, sister, mother, cousin, whatever. Okay, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor that's that way. Questions on that? Anybody? Got it? Okay, we'll go to the side. The things I'll put on the side will apply to these two. Doves and peacocks are open, while owls and eagles are guarded. Doves and peacocks will tell you what they're thinking or feeling or what's going on. Owls and eagles, you have to have a need to know. By the way, how many of you besides Kathy scored pretty high in peacocks? Either first or second in peacocks. I know Kathy did. And we know Jim did. Anybody else? Okay. For this reason, peacocks are thought to be, they're not, but they're thought to be the most insulting people on the planet. They're not, but they're viewed that way by a lot of people. And the reason is they're open, fast-paced, and direct. And they just walk by and go, bad hair. And they just keep right on walking. It just comes out. If they have a thought, it goes through no filter. It is thought mouth. And these people over here are guarded. For the doves and the peacocks, they are the people first people. And for the owls and the eagles, they are the work first people. So if you wonder where you are, those people with whom you work, these people, when they get to work in the morning, the first thing they want to do is visit for a little while. How you doing? Was the traffic bad coming in? Did that storm hit your neck of the woods last night? Whatever, whatever. These people come in and they want to get straight to work, and they'll visit at break time. Worked with a company a couple years ago, and Lady Vice President, her office was right at the end of a hall. In other words, the hallway ended at the opening of her door, and her desk sat right in the middle, facing down the hallway. And this was a leadership team, and I said, what bothers you about people? And she said, Petesy, what bothers me about people is this. I look down the hallway each morning, she's over here, and I see all of our people visiting, and I wonder why they're not working. And I said, let me give you some insight, Judy. What do you think they're thinking? They're wondering why you're not down there visiting with them. I was working with a company out of Kansas, and a lady owned it, and she told her people this. She reinforced it because they already knew. She said, well, wait a minute, Petesy. She says, that's why I tell the people that come to work in my office, we start work at 8:30. If you want to visit, come earlier. Come at 8 o'clock, you can visit, have coffee all you want to, but at 8:30 we start work. Okay? Have you found yourself a little bit better now? Maybe then that indicator gave you know where you are. You know where some people in your lives are. Maybe you know where some of your workers are. Let me give you this, and then we'll take a quick break. You say, gosh, I really don't know which I am, and that's a good thing. But when you get under stress or when you become relaxed, you will go to that in which you're dominant. When you get under pressure or stress or when you relax, you'll go to that in which you are dominant. Questions from anybody? Insights from anybody? Let's take a break for about 10 minutes. Since you're in the golf industry, do you watch golf? I mean, not just while do you kind of watch it? I watch and see like coaches and players and those kinds of things. Just give you a rundown on what I perceive to be correct, and I may not be 100%. Well, I am on a couple of them. Fred Couples is a dove. Furyk is an owl. Who's a peacock? Who? Mickelson and Poulter, and Fuzzy Zeller and Lee Trevino, Tiger and Nicklaus. I mean, Trevino talked during his own backswing. I mean, anyway, just want to give you something to relate to as we go through that. If you're a football fan, guy came up to me. He was in real estate, like 6'8". He played college ball, played at the University of South Carolina. I said, man, what position did you play? He said offensive end, and he was a peacock. And I said, you should have been playing defense. He said, man, you're peacocks make the best defensive players because they don't want to run the plays. They just want to react to the ball. Okay, they don't do well on offense most of the time. Just wanted to give you some sports insight as we go through. So what I've given you at the top of the page, I've actually given you of the doves. Those 5 things, that they're slow-paced, indirect, process, open, and people first. Now, how many of you think that you're dove first or second? You scored dove first or second. I know we got a lot of owls. As you look back on it, it was dove first or second. Okay. How many of you think you know enough to know about doves in your family or with whom you work? I just want you to have a mental reference point. Okay, you got some doves. Give you some other characteristics of doves. Doves are slow to change. Doves are slow to change. It takes them forever to decide, but once they decide, they decide. They're consistent. They pride themselves on being consistent. You ask a dove, how are you? Fine. What happened last night? My house burned down, but I'm fine. No, you're not. No, you're not. They want to be fine all the time. They're fine when they're great, and they're fine when they're not so good. They're understanding by nature, and anyone can be any of these things, but their nature is more this way. They were born with these characteristics. They're understanding. When I do when I do large groups or conventions or what have you, I can always spot the doves. They're in the audience going, look like little bobblehead dolls. Those are the only ones that do that. By the way, any of you read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Oh, that was a long time. Okay. Kathy, you didn't like that, did you?
Oh, not at all.
Now, why wouldn't she like a very popular book that way? Let me tell you why. The man that wrote the book has every woman being a dove and every man being an eagle. And that's not right. That's not right, because you can have male, female in each one of those. Doves are adaptable. They will adapt to whatever their surroundings are or their situation. They're adaptable. Anybody not have a dove somewhere in their life? Because I'm going to give you some insights from a personal standpoint. Everybody got a dove? Okay. Doves are stuffers. Doves are stuffers. They keep score when you do something that bothers them and they don't tell you. It sounds something like this. You do something that bothers them, and they say to themselves, that bothered me, but I like you. And for that matter, I might love you. I mean, but I like you, and I'm not going to say anything. And then they pick a number. Don't ask me how they pick the number. Don't ask me where it comes from. But they'll pick a number. They'll say to themselves, you do that 86 more times, and I'm going to say something. And 3 years pass, and you hit 86, and they go, it's time for us to talk. It started 3. What? They're the only ones that'll do that. They keep score. They'll just go, uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. And finally, give you some insights into doves. Their time reference is the past. They love to reminisce about the good old days. They lead the pack in reminiscing about the good old days. And they remember the good old days to be better than they actually were. when they shake, when they shake hands, it's palm up. Their hand is open. Now that won't make much sense to you until I give you the other three and give you the contrast. And what they do with their hands, speakers are always. Any of you ever had any speaker training? I never have, but I read some books about it. But anyway, they tell speakers not to stick their hands in their pockets and not to get too much like this, but just kind of keep them. But doves do that whether they ever speak or not. They keep their hands at waist level. And colors, they like pastel colors. I was doing this for the southeast region of cable TV operators or something down in Atlanta a couple years ago. And the lady that headed it up, the vice president of the region, came up to me at break and she said, Petesy, she said, I'm an eagle, and eagles like bold, rich colors. She said, I'm married to a dove. She said, he's a wonderful man. She said, we're building a new house, and the man is about to pastel me to death. He wants every room to be yellow and light blue and light green. She said, I can't stand it. They like pastel colors. Their focus is on getting to know you so that they can trust you. I want to get to know you so that they can trust you. They question, in other words, a filter that they use when something's going on. How will it affect me personally? How will it affect me personally? In other words, what will people think of me? They don't want to have the biggest house on the block, and they don't want to have the smallest. Whether they can afford it or not is a whole other deal. They want support for their feelings. They want support for their feelings. So as you're leading and managing people that you think are doves, you go, well, how do you feel about that? And they can tell you. If you ask an owl how they feel about it, they don't have a clue because they don't feel. They know what they think about it, but you can't ask a dove what they think about it, and they don't know. Well, what do you think about that? I don't know. How do you feel about it? Oh, I can tell you how I feel about it. Okay. People are measurably and predictably different. And the people, how many of you are in contact with the golfers? I know all of you have some contact with them, but how many of you are really in contact? You know, you're going to find that these ones down here, they're going to cause you the most trouble. And these are going to be the most demanding. So you're going to learn a little bit about your customers as we go through as well. These people will go, if you say cart path only, they'd go through a hole before they go off the cart path. Okay, they'd run into anyway. We'll get to them. We'll get to them in a few minutes. Doves want to be liked. They want to be liked. Now everyone likes to be liked. Doves just don't like it if they think you don't like them. I tell people all the time, business people all the time, you can fire a dove if you tell them you like them. They go, what happened at work today? They fired me, but they like me. None of the rest of them will do that. Anybody remember Sally Fields getting her first Academy Award? Somebody? Nobody? Yeah, okay. She walked up, she gets the Academy Award in her hand, and she steps to the microphone and she says, you like me, you really, really like me. Hello, dove. Only a dove would do that. The other people are going, I beat you and whatever. They want others to be pleasant. They're the ones that came up with a saying that says this: we can disagree, but let's just disagree in love. You have your opinion, I have my opinion, we'll share our opinions, we'll hold hands, sing kumbaya, and we'll go home. Okay? The doves are the warm, fuzzy, touchy-feely people. And again, our world would be very bad or not very effective if we didn't have doves. They're irritated by pushy people. Now, the pushy people don't know that they're pushy most of the time, but doves see them that way. Fast pace irritates them because you're not supposed to go fast. You're supposed to go slow. You're supposed to go steady. Got a granddaughter that's slow paced, and her mother was trying to get her to hurry up 2 years ago. Come on, we got to go. We got to go. Mama, I'm slow. And she's real smart, but she says, I just like to move slow. And she said, Caroline, we got to go. And she said, Mama, let me tell you a story. And she started with the tortoise and the hare and told the whole daggum story to her mother. And her mother looked at her and she said, I know, Caroline, but sometime we just need to hurry up. She said, Mama, you want me to tell you the story again? Okay? This defines behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. So she has to learn to speed up. Impatience irritates them. Impatience irritates them. And conflict irritates them. They see two strangers fighting, they want them to make up. Everybody just needs to get along. We just need to get along. Even if we differ, we need to get along. They're the ones, if you're Dove first or second or know them, they're the ones at the end of the day that still got a stack of stuff on their desk that they didn't get to. It's just there, and it'll be there tomorrow and the next day. Questions on that? Bring some clarity to it for Doves for you? Okay. And we'll talk later about how you, on the second page, about how you go about managing and motivating these. For Doves, decisions are considered. They have to think about them. Decisions for Doves are considered. And they're based on guarantees and assurances. And when I say guarantees and assurances, I don't mean written guarantees. I mean guarantees and assurances. Is it okay? And here's what else. Any of you have a Dove mother, father, spouse, or child? Mother, do you know enough? Mother, father. Let me help you a little bit with them. They're always the last one to order when they go eat somewhere, if it's a new restaurant. Now, if it's a restaurant that they've been to before, I know what they order. The same thing they've always been ordering. Okay? Doves have the toughest... What? What? You know them? Okay, all right. Here's the thing on Doves. When it comes to making decisions, Doves are more concerned about avoiding the wrong decision than they are about making the right one. They don't want to find the right car or the right house. They just don't want to get the wrong one. They don't want to find the right thing on the menu. They just don't want to get the wrong thing. That's where their focus is. And it makes for a long meal sometimes. And if it's a new restaurant, sometimes they'll say, do you have like a sampler platter? Y'all go ahead and order. Everybody else order. Y'all go ahead. What Doves expect from others? They expect other people to be nice and pleasant. I mean, why can't we just all get along and be nice and pleasant? They expect other people to care, and particularly care about them. I was doing some work for a company a couple of years ago, and the regional vice president was an eagle, and we did some of this as it related to sales, and we did a little bit of team building, and we did a series over a couple of weeks like we're doing. And we got through. He said, "Can I see you in my office for a minute?" He's an eagle, and I came in and I said, "Okay, you know what?" He said, "Number one, you did what you're supposed to do." He said, "Number two is, since you've been around us, are there any suggestions that you have for me?" And he's an eagle, and I said, "Yes, care more about your people." He said, "But I don't." I said, "Act like it," but he did care, but not to the level that some of them needed that care. These people need a lot of care. They want others to be consistent. You really mess them up if you're really up one day and down the next day. They go, "What's wrong with you?" And they want you to be friendly. If you don't like me, you can still be nice to me. We can still kind of act like friends. How many of you know that you have some Doves that are working with you, for you, that you're managing or supervising? Okay. Just want to give you a little bit about what they need. What they need, what they're looking for. By the way, if you want to have an interesting exercise, since we don't have a lot of Doves in here, I don't think. Ask Doves. How many of you are Doves first or second again? Raise your hand. Not just a couple. Okay. Tell us where your Christmas cards are that you got last year. Yeah. Where are your Christmas cards? They're in a box. Guess what? I already knew that. And you got the one from the year before that and the year before. And you counted them too, didn't you? To see if you got this as many last year as you got.
I did not do that.
Didn't do that this year?
No.
Okay. If you were going to throw some away, would you throw away the picture ones or the non-picture ones? Yeah. Yeah. Doves always, they got their Christmas cards in a box. Owls get Christmas cards, and they try to figure out how much it costs for you to buy them. You got the oversized, you got more. They're figuring out what your budget was for Christmas cards, because that's what owls do. Peacocks don't know anything about their Christmas cards because they don't open their mail anyway. And eagles go, Christmas is over, take it down. Okay, throw them away, they're done. I've got a friend of mine whose wife is a peacock, and I'll stay with Christmas for a few minutes. You know how you take your Christmas tree, if you got a real one, not a live one, but a real one, and you take it out and they do the grinding of the greens, and you put it by the road, or you take it and dump it over there and they grind it up and sell it for mulch or give it away for mulch or whatever they do. This friend of mine's wife puts hers out by the road decorated. She's not about to put any kind of lights and take them off. She doesn't have time for that. She just puts it out every year. She said, the owls in the room were going, has she ever done a budget to see how much that's costing her? She said, it's only a few bucks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. To increase effectiveness, doves need to learn to say no. Doves have, of all the personality types, doves have the toughest time saying no. Anybody venture a guess as to why? Why do you think doves will have a tough time saying no? They want to get along. You might not like me. We might, and I want you to say yes. And so I just said, "Will you do this?" Yeah. And here goes a stack. Yeah. Y'all going home? I got a lot of work to do. Okay. So for those of you who are doves or work with doves, let me give you a lesson on saying no. Here it is. You put your tongue behind your top teeth and you go no. That's it. They also, to increase effectiveness, need to learn to delegate. Why do you think doves have such a tough time delegating? There's a couple reasons. And if you know doves, you probably know them. And if you are a dove first or second, you certainly know. Why do doves have a tough time delegating? So, somebody might not like them, and they might not want to do it, and then they might think I'm all that kind of good stuff. Okay? The other thing is, if I delegate it, they might not do it right. You see, doves have this thing, and this thing looks like this. We have these pencils, and these pencils are supposed to be, the erasers are supposed to be just like that. And if I ask you to do it, you might do them, and they might be like that. So I'd rather do it myself so I could do it right. They have a tough time. Kathy, why? Okay. So they just, the paper is supposed to be this far apart. And it's kind of supposed to be just like this on the shelf. And it's just kind of supposed to be, and I'd just rather do it. Also learn to be a little less sensitive. Doves, a strength of a dove is they're very sensitive. The weakness of the dove is they have a tendency to be oversensitive. And in that oversensitivity, they oftentimes misread situations. Let's say a dove is in an office, and there's a hallway beside the office, and there's a bunch of offices or a few down the hallway, and the dove's in his or her office, and somebody comes walking down the hallway in the morning and doesn't speak, and they're walking real fast, and the dove sits in there, and here's what the dove does. They must be mad at me. I must have done something wrong. It just must be that way. And finally, 2 hours later at the coffee pot, they go up to the person and go, gosh, if I did anything to offend you, I'm sorry. I didn't know that I did. And the person looking at them going, what are you talking about? Well, you just came by my office real fast this morning and you didn't speak. And the person looks at him and said, I was about to throw up. I was trying to get to the bathroom. Okay? They just misread and misinterpret it. Well, they really like me. Well, no, they don't like you quite as much as you think that they do. Or they don't like me. No, they don't dislike you that much either. But a little less sensitive and what they are. And the other thing is to be a little more task oriented. Doves want to do a lot more visiting by the end of the day than tasks. So let's just tell another joke. Let's just stand around and talk. Let's just do whatever. To effectively lead and manage them, care. And if you don't, act like it. Okay? Stay in touch with them. By the way, if you know doves in your life, you can send them note cards. They love them. And they keep those too. I only send note cards to doves. I don't send them to owls. Owls think that they're increasing the expense, so the peaches got to charge more. Peacocks don't read their mail. And eagles go, I know what it says. It says I enjoyed lunch. I'm not even opening it. Because that's what they're supposed to do. What they need is a little bit of nudging to get things done, to get them underway. They don't need pushing. They don't need jumping on, because if you jump on them and they process that you don't like them, they'll shut down. And they'll go, that's one. Okay. And they'll just kind of get real quiet. And if a dove gets real quiet, they've kind of gone into their shell and they're shutting you down and they're adding marks to you. Whatever the marks are, they're doing it. They need encouragement. They value encouragement more than any of the other three. We all need encouragement. They just happen to value it more. They need support. They need to know that they're part of a team. When we get in a team, we'll talk about them. They have a tendency to follow better than the others, but they like being part of a team. They have a tendency to be real good team members. Maybe not team leaders, but team members. And they just need to know that they're valued. So, if you're talking about motivating people, if you're talking about getting the most out of them, for the doves, it looks like this. You're really valuable. We really need you. We don't know what we would do without you. You make a great contribution. Everybody likes you. It's that kind of conversation. Okay? What you need to do, and I'll just give you this and we'll go over it again when we get to the owls. When you get to the owls, you just need to hand them the policies and procedures manual, because they're going to read it and follow it. Okay? When you get to the peacocks, they're going to want to know, where are the awards? Give me the plaque. Take my picture up here and put it on the wall in the office over there. Okay? And when you get to the eagles, they go, you don't need to tell me that I'm doing a great job. You don't need to give me the manual, and you don't need to give me the plaques. Show me the money. Just cut to the chase and show me the money. No right or wrong, no good, better, or best. We're just measurably and predictably different. Questions or comments on doves? My question to you is, do you have enough now, A, to see them, and B, to work maybe more effectively? I don't think there's a lot of right and wrong stuff, although I do believe in right and wrong, but I do believe there's a lot of effective and ineffective stuff that we do. So we don't... I liken this, when I talk about it, to this. Any of you ever played golf with one club, played one of those one club tournaments where you got to select any club you wanted to, but you could only take one? Oh, it's fun. I've seen, and regardless of the club you take, you have an advantage in some places and a disadvantage in others. You take driver, man, you way ahead of somebody else till you hit it in the trap. And then you got to get out of the trap with the driver. It's on the club that you take. Most people and most management books assume we're all the same, and we're not. Many leadership books assume we're all the same, and we're not. Many sales books and communication books. What I'm trying to give you here are more clubs in your bag, so that you don't necessarily treat everyone the same. You respect everybody the same. You value people the same. But on a one-on-one basis, you don't treat them all exactly the same. We've got different needs, and to get the most out of your people, you got to be effective with them. It helps to know that and to do that as well. Okay, you got doves. You can find them. You can motivate them. You understand how they. And again, this does not excuse poor performance or lack of productivity. I don't care which one you are. If you got that job, you need to do that job. You might do it a little faster than the other. You might go by the rules more than another. Whatever. But at the end of the day, because in life or in our careers, in our working, we get paid for two things. You do and I do. What we know and what we can do. We get paid for what we know and for what we can do. Orthopedic surgeon is a friend of mine. He makes about $700,000 a year. based on what he knows and what he can do. People, for the most part, they want to do this and earn an income up here. And I mean, we've got a lot of that in the United States today. Well, I need more money. Well, so learn more. Perform better. Okay? I don't know about you, but when I play golf, it always costs me money. But the pros go out and win money. And they didn't buy shoes or clubs or anything. And I had to buy all that stuff. Okay? But it's by what they know and what they can do. All right, owls. I know we have a lot of owls. How many of you are owl first or second? That was the greatest number. Okay. Let me ask you, owls. Do you like this? And I'll give you a story that goes with it. Do you like learning about this stuff? I had an owl. I was in Atlanta, and an owl came up to me afterwards, and he said, and we had finished, and he said, I want to ask you a question. And I said, what? And I'm not picking on you owls. I'm just using a story that happened. And I said, what's your question? He said, how do you avoid that? I said, what? He said, how do you avoid that? I said, I don't understand. He said, how do you avoid people knowing what you are? I said, go in the woods and live by yourself. I don't know. If I run into you, I can tell. I can walk through the mall and pick out people. I get on an airplane and I know what my stewardess is. I know what she is when I go in a restaurant. I know what if I get a dove weight person in a restaurant, I talk to them about their family and they just light up. Owls, forgive me, but this is what I do. Owls, I always order something that's not on the menu, and they have to go check, because they're the rules people. They have to go check and see if it's okay. If I get a peacock weight person, I'm going to get stuff that I did not order, and my order is not going to be correct. I already know that. So if I just laugh and cut up with them, they'll walk by and they go, here's a glass of red wine. I go, I didn't order red wine. I messed it up at the other table. You're fine. Take it. And if you got an eagle weight person, you will go into the restaurant. Your meal will come, it'll be there, and you'll leave and go, that didn't take very long. And you'll never feel rushed, but your stuff will just be there. Okay? The other thing that I want to point out to you is this. In some interview situations, and I know that they do it in colleges now, they didn't when I was going to college, but they go through and they tell you which one you're dominant in might determine the profession that you go in. Any of you have any of that ever? Okay. They tell doves that they make the best nurses and ministers and caregivers. Owls make the best engineers and kind of research people. Peacocks make the best creative people. And eagles make the best leaders by nature and that kind of stuff and bosses. But we've had presidents in the United States from all and vice presidents. I mean, Jimmy Carter was a dove. He couldn't delegate. He took his own bag into the White House. He just couldn't. Al Gore was an owl. He couldn't talk without a chart and a graph. Clinton was a peacock. Give him health care. How you going to do it? I don't know. Just give it to him. And Johnson and George W. and Ronald Reagan were eagles. I have not figured out exactly what Obama is. He's got a lot of this over here and not much of that. But anyway, the point of that is this: successful ball coaches have been from all of them. You can be a success. You just got to go about it. You're just going to go about it differently, and that's what I wanted you to know. Okay, owls at the top of the next page. And we know these 5 things about owls. That they're slow-paced, indirect, process, guarded, and it's work first. Owls are also the show me people. Don't tell me, show me. I do a fair amount of work in the real estate industry, and I tell the real estate salespeople, I said, if you have an owl and they say, where is the corner of the lot? So for those of you who are owls in the room, and you're, let's say, looking at a house, and you ask where the corner of the lot is, what do you want that real estate person to do? I know what you want them to do, but tell everybody else. What do you want them to do? What? Take them, walk over there and say, there it is. Now, if you got a peacock and they go, where's the corner? And you walk over to show them, you will be alone. They will be meeting the neighbors, telling the neighbors that they bought the house that they hadn't even been into yet, and getting getting invited to the party that night and adjusting their menu, because that's what peacocks do. But owls owls want to know. Owls want to know. It's the show me. Don't tell me. Show me. They're analytical. By nature, they're analytical. Other people need to learn to analyze. they're also idealistic. My wife has a lot of owl, and she expects everything to work all the time. I expect nothing to work. Okay, owls. They have this ideal. This is the way it ought to be, and this is the way it ought to be, and this is the way. That doesn't mean that other people can't have those as well. The next thing I want you to know is this: an owl will ask you a question to which they already know the answer, and if you don't know it, you're not credible. True owls? Now, not necessarily a stranger, but with whom you work, they'll go, "Do you know how to do this?" They go, "Yes." "Well, show me." "Well, I can't show you." Credibility lost, right? I mean, real quick, down the hill, boom, gone. And they're problem solvers. By nature, they're the best problem solvers on there. Because for you owls, it's not a matter of wanting to solve the problem. You have to solve it. True? They got to find. Owls reconcile their bank statement, and if you reconcile your bank statement, owls, and you're off 2 pennies, what happens? What do you do? Huh? Check it again, and it's still 2 pennies off. How long do you stay with it? Till you find it. Till you find it. For those of you who are not owls, let me give you some insights. It's off 2 pennies this month. It could be 4 pennies next month. It could get up to a dime. It might even get up to $1. Okay? That's not the point with them. The point is something is wrong, and I need to find out what's wrong. Owls are the ones that have all the soups in their cabinet, turned in alphabetical order, turned the right way. They got their clothes hung a certain way in their closet, a place for everything and everything in its place. Kathy, I'm going to take you to the next one I'm doing one of these. Anyway, and I do this, and I'm giving you some extremes, and hopefully it helps some laughter. But my hope is that it helps you realize that that's the way they think. That's the way they need to do it. I got a granddaughter, and if you give her a toy to play with, you look over there, and it'll be all the blue pieces together, all the red. Nobody told her that. She got owl, and that's what she does. That's what she does with it. Place for everything in its place. By the way, how many of you retired and moved here, and now you started this second or third career? How many of you? None? No? Any of you live in any retirement communities with other, or where people are retired? No? Do you know your neighbors? Anyway, okay. Most of our retirees down here, they come down and stay, are owls. That's just you just need to know that. It just is. Do what, Benita?
I was saying, I know one neighbor.
Okay, all right.
I just found out that we're neighbors.
All right. Owls live a planned life, and they plan to move here. Now, the reason we don't have as many dove retirees down here is because they don't want to leave the street that they've been on, or they're the ones that come down here and live for 6 months and then go, "No, we're going back home." Okay. Well, home was cold, and you're old, and yeah, and they go back and try to buy the same house that they moved from, because when they looked out the back of the house, the tree that's really grown up now, that was the tree that our son, little Johnny, when he was 6, he climbed up in that tree, and he fell out of the tree and broke his arm, and I'll never forget it. Yeah, but little Johnny's 66 now, and you need to move somewhere where it's warmer, okay? Peacocks don't retire in any one place because they buy timeshares all over the country. And eagles don't retire because they will not give up the business that they started, that they said they were going to give to their son-in-law or their son or their daughter and sell and move out. I was working in Miami a couple of years ago, and working with the president, the vice president of this company, and I go in and I meet with these guys. And a few minutes later, I look up, and in walks this gentleman. He's the father of these 2 guys. Both of them got MBAs, running about a $10 million a year little company down there, and I'm down there working with them. And so I get to talking to the father, and he still spoke broken English. He said, "I started this company 37 years ago." That's great. He says, "And I gave it to my sons." I said, "Well, when did you give it to them?" He said, "I gave it to them 5 years ago." I said, "Do you play golf?" "No, don't have time." "Do you go in the water?" Because he lived on the water. "No, I don't have time to go on my boat." I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "I just come by here every morning for coffee." And he sat in on the meetings, and if there was a decision to be made, they looked at Dad. He didn't give it to them. He did on paper, but he was still running it. Okay. Their time reference is the past, present, and future. They look to the past to make decisions in the present so that they can be where they want to be in the future. When they shake hands, let's see. When they shake hands, yeah, thank you. Stand up. I'm not going to touch the back of your hand because you don't want to be touched. But anyway, when they shake hands, I'm going to move mine and just keep yours like that, okay? When they shake hands with their hand cupped or their knuckles bent. Thank you. Doves shake hands with their palms up. Owls shake hands with their knuckles bent. And watch this. I saw you during the break do this, so how you doing that? No, shake hands with me like you did with that lady over there. What did you do? Hey, how you doing? Yeah. Owls don't like to be touched. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they're wired. So you go up and shake hands with an owl, and you go, how you doing? Hey, they go, huh. I can walk through an airport and see a peacock lady that I've never seen before and go, how you doing? Peacocks hug strangers. They don't care. But anyway, it's to give you some insight as to how they're wired and hardwired. No right or wrong, no good, better, or best. What they do with their hands, don't move. What they do with their hands is they have them up to their face. Owls are forever touching their face. I only touch my face if I'm doing an owl impression or putting on aftershave. That's it. Okay? But the owls touch their face. Doves keep their hands at waist level. Owls touch their face. And their colors are earth tones. The beiges, the tans, the grays. You go ride through Myrtle Trace, and that's about all the kind of color cars you'll see. Their focus is on details, procedures, and rules. They're the rules people. They also read all the directions. They read directions to everything. Got a friend of mine. He and his wife bought a new mattress and box springs. And his wife was reading the directions to a mattress and box springs. He said, oh, she reads directions to everything. Said she bought a new hairdryer the other day. It had high, low, off, on. You could plug it in, turn it on, and make it high or low. And he said, I look around, and she's sitting over there reading the directions. To high, low, off, on. Okay? So owls, tell everybody else in the room why she was reading those directions. Because y'all know. Why? Why was the lady reading the directions to a mattress and box springs and a hairdryer high, low, off, on? Why? Because she didn't have anything else to do? No, that wasn't it. Huh? That's it. Owls read the directions so that they'll know they might learn something in the directions. Okay? And they will know what they say. I am now convinced that not only do owls read the directions, I'm convinced that they write all the directions. Because I can't understand half of them. And they're also the engineers that work on the highway systems. And when I go to a city that I haven't been to before and rent a car and I'm out there looking at the signs, the owls do not practice the personality rule. Don't put up the signs so that others understand it. They put them up so they understand it. I don't know. Next exit to this. Is that the exit where the sign's sitting? Is that the next one? Or is that the next one after that? I don't know. But they'll come out and they go, it makes perfect sense to me. And it does. And it does. Okay. They question how it works and how did you logically reach your conclusion. They want to know how the conclusion was reached from a logical perspective. How did this thing come about? How did this thing happen? They want support for their thoughts. Doves want support for their feelings. Owls want support for their thoughts. Well, here's what I think. Well, let me tell you how I feel about that. There's a difference. There's a difference there. They want to be correct. They want to be correct. And they usually are because they read all the instructions and all the stuff. If an owl tells me something, I know it's true. Because they checked it, they verified it. Okay? couple years ago, up until a couple years ago, I should say, if I got stuff in, email stuff that said this person out in Kansas City, Missouri did this warm fuzzy thing for his community, or the mayor did something, or the head doctor at the hospital did whatever, those good stories, you know what I'm talking about, I would forward them on to people. And if they were true, I didn't hear anything back. But all the owls would send it back going, I checked it and that's not true. I checked it on, was it Snopes, whatever it is. Anyway, and I checked it. Well, I have these two people that are peacocks. And I haven't forwarded anything that either one of them has sent me in over 2 years. They don't check and verify. They just send it because it sounds good. But the owls are checking. The owls are checking and verifying. They want others to be precise. They don't want to know about anything. I was doing some work for the chamber a couple years ago when they had that, and some of you may not remember it, but in Aner they had a chamber office sitting where a golf course used to be over there. A guy built a golf course, chamber built an office over there. And what they had coming out of Florence, they had a billboard, and the billboard said, chamber office 14.3 miles ahead on the right-hand side. And I clocked it in my car. And it was not 14.3. And so Brad Dean's a friend of mine. I did some stuff for the chamber on Monday. But anyway, and I see him often. And I called Brad, and I said, Brad, I said, you got a problem? He said, what's the problem? I said, you're having a lot of cars stop in Aner at the Welcome Center over there for the chamber. I said, but they're not stopping to get anything. They're stopping to tell you your sign's wrong. I said, what? I said, you said it was 14.3. It's actually 14.5. I clocked it. I said, take it off. Approximately you can put. But if you put that, they'll come in and tell you that you were wrong. And he said, and he checked with the people over there, and I was right. But they want you to be precise. They're irritated by shortcuts. I always tell everybody else in the room, what's the disadvantage of taking shortcuts? Why shouldn't you take shortcuts? Come on. Huh? You need to do the way the directions say, right? I mean, they go on a trip. They got it highlighted. They know how much. I was in this a couple years ago, and a lady just broke out in laughter in the back of the room. And I said, whoa, what's so funny? She said, I just realized my neighbor, the lady that lives next door, and I don't know what her husband is, but I know what she is. She's an owl. She said they have a motorhome. They went on an 8-week trip around the United States. They were gone for 8 weeks. She said, I saw them drive up. I walked over to say, welcome back, and how's your trip? So I walked over and said, welcome back. How was your trip? And the lady responded this way. First words out of her mouth. We came within $82.36 of budget. That's how our trip was. Peacocks go on a trip with no money and no gas and no plan. Okay? These people have plans. They got all that stuff in the trunk. Owls. You want to tell everybody else in the room about in the glove compartment of your car where you kept everything that's ever been done to your car? Or would you like to tell them about the fact that you have your electric bills at home that you kept the stubs of and sequence of? Or those clothes that you've got in your closet that you've had for more than 20 years? What did you say, oh God, for? What? Tell me, oh God, why? Because people are measurably and predictably different. And owls buy clothes that last and they take care of them and they keep them. Peacocks buy the most clothes because they give them away, forget what laundry they took them to. They don't know where they are. But owls keep everything. What? Yeah. Owls, when they go put Christmas decorations up, they put them right back in the box the same way they came out. They put the little boxes in a big box, and they say 1 of 4. So they did it. Nobody else lives there, but they put 1 of 4 or 1 of 6 or whatever. Okay, because it's what they do. It's what they do. Okay. Surprises irritate them. Surprises irritate them. Whatever you do, folks, of the people that you know in this room and or that work with you, if they're an owl, do not throw them a surprise birthday party. They don't like it. They don't. Now, you can throw a surprise birthday party for a peacock when it's not their birthday, and they'll love it. They don't care as long as we're going to have fun, okay? But owls, I was working with a bank once, a number of years ago. A lady came up to me. She said, thank you, Petesy. She said, I'm a peacock. My husband is an owl. For our 20th wedding anniversary, he worked in Horry County. He was an accountant. She was in banking. She said, I rented a limo. I'd gone to Victoria's Secret. I bought a bottle of Dom Perignon. I went up to Wilmington and rented an oceanfront condo. I had reservations at the most expensive restaurant up there, and I packed his clothes, and we drove up to his office to pick him up on Friday afternoon. She said, that was 5 years ago. We almost got a divorce, and we're still going to counseling about it. You packed my clothes? You paid $150 for that? You did not tell me. What was she doing? She wanted him to do that for her. So she did it for him, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Mistakes irritate them. Owls tell everybody why you're not supposed to make mistakes. Or why mistakes irritate you so bad. Come on. If you read the directions and did your homework, you shouldn't have made a doggone mistake. I mean, peacocks think mistakes are fun. That's what makes the world go round. Okay? Owls don't like mistakes. And lack of documentation. Lack of documentation irritates them. Decisions for them are based on facts, details, and documentation. It's like Joe Friday and Dragnet. Just facts, ma'am, just facts. Facts, details, and documentation. And decisions rarely, if ever, have anything to do with emotion. It's not. No, I don't make decisions just because I get all fired up. I just don't. Owls' expectations of others is for others to be factual. To be factual. Also to be accurate. They expect others to follow through. If you start something, finish it and follow through. They also expect others to be punctual, to be on time. They're the ones that came up with the saying, if you're on time, you're late. Peacocks do well to get there on the right day. Much less the right hour. I'll pick on them some more when we get to them. And they expect rules and directions and guidelines. If you want to do something, give me the layout of it. I'll do it, but show me what you want. To increase their effectiveness, they need to be a little more, and when I say a little, owls, I don't mean a lot, but a little more relational as it relates to feelings. A little more relational as it relates to feelings. Feelings and relate. Okay, that's good. They also need to be flexible. Owls, why is it so hard to be flexible? Because it's either this way or it's this. Hey, you did it with your hands. It's either this way or it's this way. For owls, there's not a lot of gray in the world. It's either this or it's this. They have a hard time being flexible and compromising and those kinds of things. By the way, just as an aside, for those of you who are owls or who know owls, owls compartmentalize people. They put them in, he's a nurse and she's a doctor and he's a lawyer and he's a minister or whatever. And if anybody ever changes, it messes them up. Well, I thought you were in insurance. No, I decided to go back and become a minister. Yeah, but you were in insurance. I mean, it just they like to keep you in those little compartments because that's how they think. Place for everything and everything in its place. Need to compromise some and use, and again, compromising is tough because that's that flexibility part. And the last thing is use policies more as guidelines. When I was in the military and I was just about around the world with it, I did learn this. it was told to me, if you want to mess up an operation, a military operation, you can do it in one of two ways. You can do everything exactly by the books or nothing by the books. Okay? There's got to be some flexibility. There's got to be some guidelines, and you use it to the point of making it effective. Okay, to effectively manage owls, don't use a lot of hype and excitement and enthusiasm and passage, and we're going to get fired up. We're going to go get them this week. They're going, right. They don't need that. That's not what makes them go. They like written instructions and expectations. They do well with that. Here's the 10 things we need to get accomplished this quarter. And here's the sequence in which we need them. And they'll go work on them and do it and follow through. They do better with that than any of the rest of them. Other people can have it, but owls just by nature do better with that. They like structure and order, and if you don't have structure and order, they will begin to provide it for you. Some kind of structure, some kind of order. They're going to follow through, so they're going to expect you to follow through. You said you were going to have this done by this amount of time. They expect that. They like plans. They like plans. They like plans more than any of the rest of them. Plans mean more to them. They have more value. Give me a plan. What's your plan? As I said, my wife has got a lot of owl in her. And we've been married 40 years, wonderful wife. And she'll ask me, I'll promise you, she'll ask me this Saturday too, what's your plan for Saturday? She's always asking me, what's my plan? Well, I messed up about 5 years ago. And I said, here, I got an acre yard, and I ride a lawnmower, and I chip golf balls in my yard and all that stuff. I said, well, I'm going to cut the grass, weed it, yard, and I'm going to chip golf balls. That was my plan. So I'm out there, and it's hot. And I got a refrigerator in the garage, and it's got good cold drinks in it. And I thought, man, this lawnmower just beat me to death. I think I'll stop and get something to drink. Chip golf balls for a minute. So I stop and get something to drink. The lawnmower goes off. She hears it, because I'm around by the garage, and she gives me enough time to sufficiently drink a drink. And about that time, here she comes, and I'm out there with the golf club in my hand, and I'm chipping golf balls, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm chipping golf balls. She said, you said you're going to cut the grass, weed eat, and then chip golf balls. And so now when she asked me what my plan is, I said, whatever you see me doing, that's my plan. I'm not going in that. I'm not good. Okay, we're not going that way anymore. Okay, but again, be on time. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, because they have that idealistic expectation. And again, their motivation is, let's just do the instructions. Let's just work the plan. I don't need to get fired up. I don't need to jump up and down. I don't need to have a lot of passion. Just show me what we're going to do, and I'm going to go do my part, and I'm going to expect others to do theirs as well. Okay? Now, if you're an owl to motivate other people, and other than owls, you got to learn a little bit of motivation. You got to learn a little bit of getting fired up every now and then. You got to learn a little bit of enthusiasm, because the others won't respond to you. Here's the plan, and particularly peacocks, as we get to them in a minute. Any questions on owls? Got a good picture? And we'll refer back to them as we go through communication and some other things, and goal setting and that kind of stuff. Okay, peacocks. We know these things about peacocks. And Kathy, that's Jim and you, and I don't know who else. Maybe.
No, Jim actually, I mean, he's got, I think it was number 2 for him, but Eagle was number 1 for him.
Okay, all right, okay. Anyway, in addition to those 5 things, peacocks are spontaneous. They are spontaneous. They're the people this Saturday afternoon at, let's say, at 4 o'clock. They'll be in a group somewhere, maybe at a bar watching TV, and they'll go, let's go see the Gamecocks play. Well, they're playing at 7, and we got to decide what we're going to drive, and they'll talk everybody into it because they're very persuasive, okay? And they'll talk, and we don't have any tickets. Oh, we'll just buy some in the parking lot. And they'll drive to Columbia and get there at 7:30. All the tickets in the parking lot are sold, If you don't know Columbia and Williams-Brice, this won't make any sense to you. All the tickets are gone. The Peacock looks around and says, well, let's go to 5 Points, and we'll go to Groucho's and have a sandwich and drink a beer and watch it on TV. And they go, and they come back and say they had a heck of a good time. I mean, they were just, we had a ball. The Doves were going, well, I guess we did, but I thought we were going to the game, and we didn't get to the game. The Owls are going, I am never going anywhere with them again. And the Eagles are going like this. Next time we go, I'll be in charge. I mean, if these four go to the doctor, and they got something wrong with them and the doctor writes them a prescription, the Owls will go get the prescription filled. The Doves will go get the prescription filled, and they will take the medication until they start feeling better. I'm feeling better, and I'll quit taking them. Owls will take the medication as prescribed. And if it's ever so many hours, and one of those hours is 2 o'clock in the morning, they will set the clock and get up and take it. The only ones that will do that. Peacocks will take the prescription until they lose the bottle. Okay? I know we got some Eagles in here. Eagles will walk out. It's an expensive prescription. I'll get it out. I'll just get it out. I'm not doing that. I'll be all right 3 days. Okay? Anyway. Just to give you some insight that people are measurably and predictably different. Okay. They're often late. They wear a watch. They just don't look at it. And when I say it's good sometime if they get there on the right day. Got a real good friend of mine here that went to his high school reunion. He went to a private school in Georgia. He walked into the Holiday Inn. He said, I'm here to check in. And they looked through and they said, Mr. So-and-so, I'm sorry, we don't have a reservation for you. He said, oh, yeah. He said, American Express Gold Card. I got the confirmation right here. Y'all gave me the confirmation. His wife's sitting in the car. She said, sir, why are you here? He said, I'm here for this reunion of this school. She said, that's next week. He was a week early. If you're sitting on a plane and you're stuck at the gate because they're waiting on somebody, it's them. You always waiting on them. Oh, I was in the bar and I didn't hear you. You knew the plane was in 15 minutes when you went in the bar. Yeah, but I was having a good time. Met a real good guy. Anyway, okay. They're impractical. They want to do stuff that you can't do. They're convincing and optimistic. How many years ago was it that Mickelson blew the U.S. Open on 18? 3? 4? Huh? No, the time that he hit driver off the tee and double bogeyed the last hole and lost by 1. Okay. Only a peacock would do. Let me tell you Mickelson's thinking. And I think he's the most talented guy to ever pick up a golf club. He could do more with a golf club than I think. Anyway, but he gets up there. He knows he's on TV. He can't not hit driver. They got to see how far I can hit it. They just do because I'm Phil Mickelson and I can hit it. Then I'm going to hit it around this tree. Then I'm going to hit it here. And then I'm going to hit it there. And it bothered some of us watching a whole lot more than it bothered him. Okay? They're just optimistic. What was the TV show that came on with the cases with the money in it? Deal or No Deal? Yeah. Any of you not know what I'm talking? Anyway, Deal or No Deal. All the contestants that made it on TV were peacocks. They were all. I watched it. They were all peacocks. Some owls might have played the game. Theirs didn't get on TV, and I'll tell you why. Owl goes out. If you don't know the game, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you do know the game, they come out and they go, first offer from the banker is $38,000. Owls would go, deal. I never made $38,000 in 10 minutes in my life. I'm going home. These people would get out there and they'd go, no deal, why'd I do that? It would come out as soon as they hit the button for no deal, why'd I do that? and Howie, for those of you that watched it again, when it got to a few cases left, and there was a lot of money up there, and they got, let's say they got $185,000 offer from the banker, who wasn't really a banker anyway, but anyway, from the banker, and Howie would walk up to him, and he would say this, and this is how I knew they were all peacocks. He would walk up to him, he says, you've got this much money on the board. The banker's offered you that much. And then he would ask him this question, do you have the guts? Don't ever ask a peacock if they got the guts. They don't have good sense, but they got the guts. No deal. And they'd walk away. They'd walk away in 10 minutes with $8,000 going, yay, you blew 170. Okay? But they go back home and tell how much fun they had and how much guts they had. When I used to watch Howie do that, I said, don't ask them. Don't ask them. If you ask peacocks if they have the guts, they jump out of a plane with no parachute. I got guts. Anyway, our daughter and son-in-law moved to Omaha, Nebraska 2 years ago. And he's a regional vice president for Physicians Mutual. And there's only 3 in Physicians Mutual in the company. And when he got there and they were moving in their house, the wife of one of the other RVPs called and said, Whitney, can I bring supper over to you and your 3 children and your family? The nice thing to do and that kind of stuff. She said, sure, that would be fine tomorrow night. Okay, yeah. So anyway, doorbell rings. Whitney goes to the door. There's this lady there with leopard glasses on, lots of jewelry, that's peacock stuff, lots of makeup and that kind of stuff, and all this flashy stuff on, bringing dinner in. And the dinner that she brought it in the bags didn't go together. She's calling me and telling me the story. Didn't go together. I mean, it was like it wasn't a together meal. And I told Whitney, I said, what happened was she started second-guessing herself on the way over there, and she just stopped and got some more stuff, whether it went together or not. So their middle daughter, Claire, is a peacock. Claire was 5 at the time. Claire took one look at the lady, ran up to her room upstairs, just took off running. She comes in the kitchen. She's standing there. Whitney said, I look around, and here's this peacock lady, okay, with all this stuff on. She says, I look around, and here comes Claire with every bit of jewelry she can have on. And she walks up to the lady, and she's got on her sparkly shoes. She walks up to the lady and bumps her in the leg with her hip. And the lady looked down at her and said, wow, I like your shoes. They recognized each other. A little kid recognized an adult peacock. I didn't know that until I had that experience. They know, and by the way, we all know each other. But that was, I mean, that to me. Okay, they want support for their ideas. They are the idea factory. Most of their ideas will not work. But if it were not for them, we wouldn't have a man on the moon. We wouldn't have open heart surgery. You wouldn't have some of the recipes you have to do in the kitchen. They come up with stuff. You got to filter through. Some of them won't work. You know, kind of like Willie Nelson. I read a quote from Willie Nelson a couple years ago, and he lives in Texas. Got this big ranch. He said, "Par's anything you want to make it." He said, "I created this real long hole at my house." He said, "Par's 28." He said, "I almost buried it the other day." I don't have a clue how long that hole is. Owls, I apologize for that. You have your imaginations don't work real well, and you can't imagine what he was talking about. If we had more peacocks, they'd go, yeah, I can create one too. Okay. They want to be noticed and admired. They like the attention. They're the ones at the ball games. The Giants are playing at home in the middle of winter, and they're out there with no shirt on, and they got the letters painted on them. And the owls sitting around them going, they are dumb, they are dumb. And the doves are going, I bet they're cold, you want to borrow my jacket? And the eagles are going, sit down, you're in my way, I'm watching the game. They like others to be stimulating. They like others to be stimulating. You call a meeting and the peacocks are in the meeting. Let's say it's one of the homeowners, any of you members of a homeowners, or have homeowners associations in your neighborhood or whatever. Yeah, owls sit on the board and do most of them, but sometimes they'll get a peacock. And the peacock will go to the meeting, and an owl's leading the meeting and says, we will begin the meeting by reading the 8 pages of minutes from the last meeting. Peacock's going to have an emergency, phone's going off, they go throw up. They're not staying. They are not staying for eight pages of minutes. By the way, to stay with that, the peacocks that move into those neighborhoods, and they got all the China lanterns and the ceramic chickens in the yard and all that stuff that you're not supposed to have because they're against the rules. And they get up a team from the board to go tell them that they got to take them down. And they go ring the doorbell, and the peacock invites them all in, and they have 3 or 4 drinks, and they leave. They leave going, we told him he had to take them down. He said he got some more ordered, and they'll be in here next week. I mean, it's what they do. Okay, they're irritated by boring tasks. And any task that requires being alone or has a lot of paperwork attached to it, to them is a boring task. Details irritate them. the clients that I have who have businesses or that I coach for that are peacocks, I take care of the details for them. They don't want to. They're not going to. Limits irritate them. Don't tell them they can't do something. They'll figure out a way. And being specific irritates them. Now, what I want you to put beside that is this. They exaggerate. Owls think they're lying. Okay? They just embellish the story. I mean, they'll tell you that they went fishing and caught a bunch of fish when they didn't catch any. Who's going to? Because in their mind, who's going to listen to a story where we caught no fish? They'll tell you they shoot a better score than they shot. They'll tell you that they hit the club longer than they really hit it, only to embellish the story. Owls say, I don't care, that's still a lie if it's not the truth. No, they don't intend it as a lie. They just intend it as, come on. A friend of mine did that I went to high school with. We stayed up all night and went fishing about 4 o'clock in the morning in a lake. And we were both married at this was years before we were married. And then we got married, had about 8 couples over at his house, and he started going, I'll tell you when Peach and I went fishing up here. We went over in Half Moon Lake up in North Myrtle Beach, and we went in there, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and you could hear the crickets chirping, and everybody just listen. And he said, and I caught 16 of the prettiest brim you've ever seen. We didn't catch a thing. We didn't get a bite, okay? And I'm about to correct him, and he said, and Pete caught 8. Okay, anyway, it was just to make the story sound good. It was just to make the story sound good. Decisions for them are quick. And they're based on incentives and testimonials. They're the ones that will go to a mall and buy something that doesn't fit just because it's on sale. And they'll shrink it, take it up, or just go give it to the neighbor. Expectations of others, they expect others to have fun. They have fun. I mean, if it's not fun, why are we doing it? And you'll hear them say that. Any of you have some that work with you? They're the ones that you kind of got to watch. You set them out to do something over there, they're helping somebody else. Or moving around a lot, just anything that's exciting. They expect others to be flexible. Come on. Yeah. Got a friend of mine whose wife is a peacock. And we ran into him at a ball game and just commented, where are you going after the ball game? And she talks with a real southern drawl, not that I don't, but anyway, hers is worse than mine. And she said, Petesy, I just don't know. We just live by the 11th commandment. And I said, Molly, what's the 11th commandment? She said, you know, Petesy, thou shalt be flexible. Okay, that's what they live by. They expect others to lighten up and not take everything so serious. So the pipe broke. We'll fix it. So the green flooded. What different? I mean, just. And also they expect other people to rebound from setbacks. Because they're so optimistic, we're going to get this thing back on track, we're going to rebound from the setbacks. To increase effectiveness, peacocks need self-management. There's no such thing really as time management. Time manages itself very well. We call time management, they're the worst time managers. They get caught up. They're going down the hall. They're supposed to take something over there, and or somebody said a couple of years ago, they're the bright, shiny people, the shiny object people. They say, "Oh, let's go over there. Oh, let's go over there." And they stop and visit and forget why they went, and this is going on and that's going on. They need to finish and follow through. For peacocks, the excitement is starting. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to get all excited about it, and we're going to do all this good stuff. And they got a truckload of unfinished projects. Because finishing is not exciting to them. They need to check and verify. If you tell them something, they'll take off with it. They need to check and verify. Is that really true? Does it really mean that? And they need to learn to plan. Why do you think peacocks resist planning? And they do, by the way. Why would you think peacocks resist planning? It's not spontaneous. It takes... And the husband does some carpentry work, maintenance work, that kind of thing, and he's standing there telling me. He said, I'm going to build my wife some cabinets right here. Well, he does construction work. And I'm thinking, if you're going to do, I used to own a construction company, co-owner, but anyway, if you're going to do construction work, you draw out. You're going to use 2x6s, whatever you're going to use plywood. You're going to make it this big or that big. This TV will fit, whatever. And so I said to him, I said, well, you going to draw it on the wall or are you going to draw it on paper? And he's a peacock. He said, no, I'm just going to start building it. It turned out great. I don't know how many times I had to tear it down, but I knew one thing right then: you'll never do any work in my house. I want something that's got a plan to it. Okay, to effectively lead and manage them, have fun with them. You need to hold them accountable. They'll say, I'll do this and this and this, and at the end of the day, they didn't. You need to stay in more contact. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, or are you wandering around over there doing something else? And if something else might be more fun, or something else might be helping somebody else, but you need to make sure that they're following through. And don't give them a lot of details about the job, because they're not going to pay a lot of attention to it anyway. Give it to them in pieces. Do this step, and I'll check with you, and then do this step. And they're the ones that will redo a different way what you wanted them to do, just because they thought it was better. I had an idea that it'd be better if we ran the hose out that way. No, well, the hose can't go out that way. It needs to go this way. And you just need to give them constant reminders of, and stay with them. Questions or comments on peacocks? They bring excitement and they bring life, I can promise you that. They're the ones that are going to have everybody laughing. Okay, eagles. Eagles are guarded, work first, fast-paced, direct results. How many of you were eagles first? Okay, we got some in here. Okay, all right. Eagles are also opinionated. They're the most opinionated of the four. And not only do they have opinions, their opinions are correct. Absolutely. I was doing this for PD Home Builders Board of Directors, 24 of them over in Florence a couple years ago. And I made that statement. And most of them were home builders of fairly small companies. And I said, they have opinions and their opinions are correct. And one of them in the back of the room said, Petesy, why would you have an opinion that wasn't correct? I mean, come on. They're correct. They're competitive. By nature, it's part of them. They're competitive. I can have an eagle if we're walking down a hallway or down a sidewalk. I can have an eagle running. All I need to do is walk fast. They are not going. Something inside of them. They're going. I got a granddaughter that's an eagle, and she thinks eating is a competition. I finished first. So what did you win? I don't know, but I finished first. It's in their nature. They're also productive. They're going to produce more in a given set of time by nature than the rest. It's just part of them. True? There it is. Get it done. That's your opinion. I love that. Thank you. They're independent. Of the four by nature, they're the most independent. They're premature to action. They're what I call the ready, fire, aim people. Boom! What are we going to shoot? You just did, because they're so competitive. They take a little bit of information and they just take off. Come back, you don't have the rest of it. Yes, I do. Their time reference is the present. Meet me about halfway so we can stay. And come on. I just want to shake hands. How about that? Huh? How about that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Huh? It is? Okay, you don't have as much eagle as you thought. Okay. Somebody else, give me an eagle. Eagle where? Okay, got an eagle over here. Okay, let's go, Steve.
I'm trying to resist.
Huh?
Turn it over.
Yeah, you turn on. When they shake hands on top, because they think that's a competition too. And I've done it before where I've taken somebody's hand and turned it, and it came back like it was spring-loaded and surprised them and me. Okay, then what happened? And if two eagles meet, it's got to be just like this. Let me ask you this question. Any of you read body language books? Any articles on body language? Somebody has, I hope. What does this mean? What does this mean in body language book? Huh? No. They assume that we're all the same and we're not. This is what eagles do with their hands, and they're not closing you out. It's where their hands go. I was doing a national conference, and a lady from Arizona came up. She said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" She said, "I'm an eagle, and I'm 42 years old, and I've always been told not to do this, and I'm in sales." She said, "You gave me permission to do it." If I believe that, when I do seminars, I could look out there and go, somebody's agreeing and somebody's closed out. Not if they're eagles. That's what the doves keep their hands at waist level. Owls touch their face. Peacocks are all over the place, and eagles that's where their hands go. I mean, you've been sitting that way the whole time. You just last session and this session. Anyway, okay. Colors, they like bold, rich colors. Bold, rich colors. A lot of blacks, a lot of navy blues, a lot of whatever. Bold, rich. Their focus is on results and getting things done. And they question how it works and by when. How it works and by when. And they want support for their goals. Doves want support for their feelings, owls for their thoughts, peacocks for their ideas, and eagles for their goals. They want to be in control. Matter of fact, their greatest fear is loss of control. They see the world through a control filter, by the way. Everything to them is about, almost everything is about control. By the way, for those of you who are first or second in eagles, I need to give you some insights. Control is an illusion. You don't have any control anyway. You can't control the sun, the moon, the stars. You can't control another person. You can't even control how fast you breathe. Now, for those of you who are not eagles, let me tell you what just happened to the eagles. They did this. I can hold my breath if I want to. I know I can. They want others to be to the point. Just get to the point. Don't tell me about what you saw in the fairway. Tell me what happened. Get to the point. They're irritated by indecisive people. Indecisive people. When they go to lunch with a dove, I don't know what I feel like. Order its lunch. I'll order for you. No, you don't. You might not know what I want. Yeah, order. The indecisive people. Obstacles irritate them. And anything that keeps them from getting where they want to be or accomplishing what they want to accomplish, they consider that an obstacle. Let me give you an example of a traffic light with these four. Dove pulls up to a traffic light, and he or she's sitting there looking, and they're stopped, and he or she's sitting there looking around going, who did I know that I can wave to? Okay, that's what. Owls pull up to a traffic light and think that the South Carolina Department of Transportation, or whatever state that they're in, has done a traffic flow study, and the lights are timed sequentially. They're not. Sometimes they are, but not always, but that's what the dove's thinking. Okay? The owl's thinking. Peacocks just run them. Peacocks get stopped by the patrolman more than anybody else, and they get out of the tickets. And it drives owls crazy. You keep doing it, you keep stopping. Did you talk them out of it? How many of you think that the peacocks talk them out of the ticket? They don't. Peacocks are great for going what I call belly up. They just go, I did it. I know I did it. I didn't mean to do it. I did it. I just wasn't paying attention. And they just laugh and they just take it easy. And I did it. I mean, I don't know. If you're going to write me a ticket, I get, well, don't do it again. Okay. And they take off.
Why do they always drive in the left-hand lane when they're going slow and they go around?
Sometimes they don't know. They're listening to stuff or talking on whatever or whatever. They just kind of go where they want to go. Well, then if I can take a guess, you had a lot of owl, but you have a lot of eagle. Yeah, you're owl and eagle. And let me tell you what the eagle does at the traffic light. They think that light was put there to keep them from getting where they want to go. It is stopping me. Okay? My son-in-law, who's eagle peacock, if I ask him, he flew back in today, if I ask him to get me a Diet Coke out of the refrigerator, I'll look and make sure between the point where he is and the refrigerator is, none of his children are in the way, because he'll run over them. He won't mean to. Just you should have moved. And he's a great guy. But if an eagle's coming, you better watch out, because they're coming. Okay, and they don't like obstacles. Wasting time irritates them. And any time that is not productive time in their minds is a waste of time. And the last one, as far as an irritation for them, is a big one. Unsolicited advice. If you want it to blow up in your hand, go start telling an eagle what he or she should be doing. Not good, huh? No, why not? You don't have time for it, number one. It's a control thing, number two. Okay? Now, they like solicited advice. If they come up and say, tell me how you do, you want to hear that because you asked for it. But somebody comes in and says, I read a book, I heard a guy speak, I saw a video, I saw a TV program, and you ought to be doing this, something that's inside you, go, So while they dislike unsolicited advice, guess who the largest giver of unsolicited advice is? They don't want you telling them what to do, but they know what everybody else needs to be doing. I've had them come up to me after seminars and tell me how I need to run my seminars. I'm going, it's not your business. Yeah, but you ought to do this, and you ought to do that. I said, who asked you? Well, you just need to know that. They just take charge. Our granddaughter, who's an eagle, who thinks she was going to take diving lessons this summer. Join the country club in Omaha. She's going to go take diving lessons. She's never done any diving. She gets there before the instructor gets there. She's 9. The other little girls are 9, 10, and 11. They've been in diving class before. My daughter says, I watched her, and before the instructor got there, she had them lining up doing dives. She didn't know what she was doing, but she was telling them what to do, and nobody had to teach her that. I share that with you because that's her nature, to be in charge, to take care, and to tell, here's what you ought to be doing, and here's what you ought to be doing. Okay. Where decisions are concerned, they are very decisive. Very decisive people. If an eagle goes to a new restaurant with a dove, okay, the eagle will pick up the menu, turn it to the first page, and go, bring me that. And the doves are going, you didn't read the whole thing? No, that's what I wanted. Owls are going, you didn't do any price comparison? No, that's what I wanted. Peacocks are going, I'll eat half of yours. I mean, it's just, I mean, if they go to a restaurant, and true story, the doves don't know what they feel like. Owls will look, and I got a good friend of mine that's an owl, and owls are the ones that have the balls hanging down in their garages, a float or a golf ball or a tennis ball, so it's equal distance around his car. And that's his friend of mine, Bob. I said, that's great. I said, what happens if you trade cars? He said, I remeasure. Okay, and when Bob and I would travel, we served on some committees together in another city here in the state. But we would ride together, and we'd stop to get dinner, supper, and he would look at the menu, and they always get the best value for everything. And he would say, let's split the large seafood platter, because it was of better value even paying $3 for the other plate than the other was. Peacocks will go to a restaurant that they've never been to and get up, walk over and say, hi, where y'all from? Can I taste that? Okay. And eagles will order stuff that's not on the menu or in the restaurant. Our son was a busboy at Tony Romo's about 18 years ago. And he came home one night and he said, Pops, you're not going to believe this. Guy came in, party of 12. You could tell it was a grandfather and the children and the grandchildren and the in-law children, that kind of stuff. He sits down at Tony Romo's. The wait lady comes up. He's sitting at the head of the table. And he said, what can I get for you, sir? He said, I want crab legs. She said, sir, we're Tony Romo's. She said, we're a national chain. We fix beef. We'd be glad to fix you anything on our menu, any way you want it fixed. He said, I understand that, but I want crab legs. She said, sir, we don't have crab legs. He said, would you ask the manager to come over here? Manager came over, said, yes, sir, can I help you? He said, I want crab legs. He said, sir, we're Tony Romo's. We're a national chain. We'll fix anything on our menu any way you want it. He said, I know that, but I want crab legs. He said, sir, we don't have crab legs. He said, I know that. He said, but Joe's Crab Shack, 2 doors down does, send somebody out the back of your restaurant, have them go to Joe's Crab Shack, get crab legs, put them on your plate, you mark them up and bring them to me. And they did. And they did. Doves were going, they might have gotten mad at me. Owls were going, if I want a crab leg, I'd have a crab leg place. Peacocks in the room were going, hey, that's pretty good. That was exciting. I might try that myself. Okay. Anyway, where decisions are concerned, you want to give them all the options or outcomes and let them decide. You can do this, this, and this. Give them all the options and let them decide. They can make a decision out of 20 possibilities quicker than a dove can make a decision out of 2. They just go, boom, I'll do this. Doves are going, I don't know. They expect others to use time wisely. They expect the other people to use their time wisely. And they also expect others to have drive and energy. Come on, let's go. Let's get it done. To be productive and results oriented. In other words, they expect others to be like them. Come on, that's what we're going to do. Let's go. If you have meetings and you got an eagle in the meeting, they'll keep you on track. We came to meet about this thing, whatever. To increase effectiveness, eagles need to listen a little bit better. They hear just enough that they think of what they need to get it done, so they need to improve their listening. They need to have some patience. By nature, they're not very patient people. And to be a little more relational. They think they're relational, but the others don't see them as relational, particularly the doves and the peacocks. And they need to give up some control, or not make control as much. It'll never completely go away because you're an eagle. It just won't. To effectively lead and manage them, give them a big picture look. And the results that you expect. And give them with that some parameters within which to work, but they don't need any micromanaging. You just say, here's what we want the room set up for 40 with round tables. That's all you need to give them. You got to give doves, well, it could be in a line, or it could be crossways. No. And owls like a design, and peacock will be in here till somebody says, there's a putting green out there. And you come in an hour later and half the tables are up and they all putting or doing something fun. Okay? But the point of today is twofold. One, for you to learn a little bit more about you. And I hope there's some validation for you that says, you know what, that is me. And I need to learn these other. If you want to know where your learning curve is, it's whatever's opposite from you. Wherever you are, if you're here, you need to learn some of this because it doesn't come natural. You won't ever be that way. Don't get me wrong. But I will share one story before we as we wrap it up. I was in Atlanta and a lady said, and maybe some of you have this question. A lady said, "Can you change?" And I said, "Well, you certainly can grow, and that's the challenge." And she said, "No, can you change?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, I was this, whatever this was, and now I'm exactly opposite." And I went, "Are you sure?" And this was after. She had seen all this stuff. This was after. I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes, I'm sure." I said, "Well, how long were you the first one?" She said, "For 27 years. I said, "And how long have you been the second one?" She said, "For 13 years. So obviously she was 40 years old. And I'm running through my mental Rolodex going, somebody's telling me that they were born with this and they know it. And now they're exactly opposite and they know it. And so I asked her this question because I couldn't figure out anything else to ask. I said, "Tell me about the pain that happened in your life when you were 27 years old." And she went, "Oh," and she walked away. She didn't need to tell me about the pain. Pain can cause us to say, "I'll never do that again." And she did. I think and believe, I share that with you because there's a difference in growing and completely changing. Okay? And I think if she ever got to a point in her life again where she felt safe, really safe and secure, she'd probably go back to that what she was originally in. Okay. We'll do a quick round robin like we did last time. What do you know now that you didn't know a couple hours ago? Or what's your takeaway from today? Or what meant something to you? What? Please.
I will not be writing my procedural manual, but I have plenty of people that work for us that will.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll do a good job, and we'll do the research, and we'll put it together correctly, and great. Anybody, what else? What do you know now that you didn't know 3 hours ago?
Treat everybody differently.
Yeah. To some degree, the standards and values the same with respect and all that kind of stuff, but individually, yeah. I mean, okay. What else? What do you know? What's your takeaway? What would you go? I mean, you can even say, I didn't like it. I mean, my takeaway is, what?
Petesy, I thought it was good. I thought it was great, actually. I think you identify, when you look around this room and the people that you interact with, it gives you an opportunity to think about how that person is and how you communicate to that person. And you go back in history and what you may have said or what you may have done and say, now I understand why either I perceived that specific result or didn't get that result that I was looking for. Especially being an eagle, that kind of, there's a lot of things for that.
You told us which ones were productive, but which ones are lazy?
Lazy can overlap any of that, and it can for a couple of reasons. I'm working with a couple of companies right now that have employees that must have had, I don't know, their parents must have messed them up some kind of how, and by that I mean they crippled them, they doubted them, and these are bright, capable people, and they just won't perform. So that's an overlay. Well, we'll do this, and we'll do something more on it to get back to what this will address what you're saying, but I can't give you the whole thing today because I don't have it with me. Equals. Anybody know what that means? It's the formula for power. Power, electrical power, equals voltage over resistance. Okay? And if you want to improve the power, you do it one of three ways. You increase the voltage and keep the resistance the same. You leave the voltage the same and reduce the resistance, or you increase this and reduce that. But I've got a handout on it. It's called the formula for productivity. And it's our abilities over our resistances. And the resistance areas are 20, the abilities are 10. We'll do it probably our last session. But what you talk, it can be lazy because something happened along the way, or it was exemplified for us. But nobody's born. I've never seen a lazy baby. Never have. You can tell babies that the dove and owl babies are slower and they'll sleep and they take it easy, but you've never seen a lazy baby. And the peacocks and eagles, they're just going all the time. So something happened along the way to affect their self-esteem, doubts and fears. They've been told they couldn't do it, whatever. That's for the most part where laziness comes from. You show me somebody that's got a lot of confidence and belief in themselves and other people that believe in them, and they're equipped, they've got the abilities, they've had the training, and I can tell you, they're doing stuff. Others are not. And when we become adults, kind of one of the things I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years is, in working with companies and dealing with people, some of them being smaller groups than this, and I'm in coaching kind of, we're sitting all around one table, and maybe there's 6 or 8 or 10 of us, and I'm sitting there going, where did they get that from? Why are they like that? Over and above what we've looked at here in generations and that kind of thing, and what I've come to realize is this, they learned it at home. Much of what you do, your thought processes, how you handle things, how you deal with things, are reflective of what you were A, taught at home, or B, were never taught at home. It's just, and that's not a slam on your parents, because I'm a parent too, but it just is. We bring a lot of it from home. The way we treat other people has a lot to do with the way we were treated. And we either go from one extreme to the other. So there are lazy people, but they didn't just get lazy. It came from something. And so I'll give you this and a handout, and we can talk about some of it, and maybe you can help some of the other people. Because as we watch particularly particularly the NBA draft, and oftentimes for the other drafts that we watch from college ball into pro sports, most of those athletes will thank somebody for believing in them when they didn't believe in themselves. You start believing in your people, you start equipping them, because people rise to their expectations. They do. You start expecting them to do well, and they'll do better. And if you ever do that, you'll get a commitment, because nobody else in the world maybe ever believed in them. Long answer to your question, but that's the best I can do. But thank you for doing that. I'll make sure we get that. That wasn't in my outline, but I think it's worth you having. Okay, what else? What you going to walk away with here going, I just got this notebook stuff?
I don't think anybody's in one, category.
Oh, they're not?
You said that, but I think it's funny to sort of look at the four and realize that some people might be heavy in one or two, and then there are others that are 36-4 and all four.
Well, let me do this as we wrap up. If you're 1 and 2, by the way, if you can ever learn to find out what somebody is second, in other words, you got the first thing down so well that you can begin to recognize the second thing, you can almost tell them their whole life story. That's psychic doesn't exist. I mean, it just doesn't. Dion didn't even know the way to San Jose, so she can't help you with that. Some of you remember the commercial, Dion. Anyway, because if somebody called a psychic hotline, what are they going to ask you? Their name and whatever. They should have already known that. What I think, I don't know this, but what I think they have to be doing, because the people that call the psychic hotlines say that they got it right, they have to be reading this. And I do it on the phone when I get a call from someone new that I don't know, that I haven't worked with before. I can tell in about 3 minutes what they are primary-wise. It's not hard to do. But if you ever learn what's first or second, so let me stay with this for a minute. If you're dove peacock or peacock dove, if you have a common line, okay, you're this and this, or this and this, or this and this, or this, whatever. So if you got this line and this, if you got one line in common, you have a consistency in your life that if you don't have that in common, you don't have that consistency. Are you with me? Okay. If you got this line, you're a dove owl, this is consistent. If you go this way, this is a consistent factor. If you go this way, this is consistent, and this is consistent. But there are people, and I don't know what the mix is, that are this and this, or this and this. And that might be some of you. I was doing this for board of directors for the South Carolina Home Builders Association, of 42 of them. And one guy was sitting there, and as I explained that, he said, now I know why I've got so much internal fighting going on. Because he was a peacock owl. And he's a peacock one day and an owl the next day. Not only is it difficult for you, if that's you, it's real difficult for the people around you. Because they don't know who's showing up. And that's not a bad thing, it's just the way you are. But maybe to recognize that, I do this a lot of times. Let's say a company owner is a dove eagle or an eagle dove. They're this way, and they show up for the Monday morning meeting, and they have the meeting with all their people, and the dove shows up, and the dove says, we're just one big happy family. We're just going to work together. We're going to succeed together. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to support one another. We're going to care for one another. And everybody's leaving there going, yeah. We're just one big happy family. Following Monday, business meeting, eagle shows up. Eagle comes in and says, let me tell you something. You're not pulling your weight. You're out of here. People are going, I thought we were a family. I don't care. We'll get rid of you. And then the next week, and so anyway. But that brings up that point. Anybody else? My hope is, and my sense is, hopefully that you'll share this with somebody. What that will do is it will help you. It may be just in comment. You don't have to take them through all the sheets. That's not what I'm talking about. But just say, aha, I learned a little something. Maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's whatever. Because again, what's the latest driver that's out? What's the latest supposed to be end all, do all, best driver? Huh? Slider? Hadn't heard of that one yet. Okay, and a slider costs how much? $3.99. So I leave here today and I go buy a slider. Okay? And I put that slider in my bag, and let's say I'm going to play 2 weeks from now. And I got that slider. Now, what's it supposed to do that the others do not do? What's it supposed to do? It's got some kind of feature or something. It's supposed to do what?
It's got the slider.
It-
Slides it away from the
Okay, it's got some benefits for me, right? Okay, so I go and I put that thing in my bag and I go play 18 holes and I never pull it out of the bag and use it. Did it do me any good? I got it. It's in the bag. Looks real good.
You're a peacock.
Huh? No, if I was a peacock, I'd buy 2 of them. But anyway, but if I never took it out and used it, would it do me any good? I wouldn't get any of the benefit from that driver, would I? This is the same way, folks. If you don't go use this stuff, it's like riding around with something in your bag that's beneficial to you, that'll help you. Some will use it more and different than others, and that's okay. But if you don't use it, we just kind of went whoopee. We had some good afternoons and drank some iced tea and some coffee and things, and maybe got a little things. But the point is, it's to start. It's not to go do it all at one time. Not to go do it all at one time. We are next time, Benita.
25th at, I believe, Long Bay. But let me check my calendar.
Okay.
Yes.
25th at Long Bay. 25th at Long Bay. Bring your notebooks. We'll get into some team building next time and some communication, and I will bring that other that will help you. Thank y'all. I enjoy being with you. Oh, thanks.